I always liked competing. Like, dude, I was like bred for this. Like, I thought Van Damme was my uncle. That changed my whole. My aunt told me Van Damme was my uncle when I was young, and then like from there,
you just believed it.
Like my martial arts was in my blood. And I remember my older brother, my first manager, making me wrestle people in the sandbox at the Boys and Girls Club for quarters for the vending machine. He would be like, take down my little brother in the sandbox. And and he was collecting money. Yeah, like shit like that, beating him up his friends.
Walkout song would definitely be it's Oh Yeah by Foxy Brown.
You guys gotta listen to this.
That's off the top. So you've done this before.
Oh yeah, no, that's my walkout song. So part of me wants to say Saitama Super Arena in Japan, because it's just so legendary, and the way the atmosphere is just really, really special. However, I need people to cheer. Like Saitama is quiet, and they're very respectful.
MSG's gonna respect
MSG, Madison Square Garden, and I grew up going there as a kid.
That was my first thought.
100%.
That's the best.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Verse Us with Eric Nixick. He is Eric Nixick. I'm Randy Fainrich, and this is Verse Us. Verse Us is presented by Mybookie.ag. At Mybookie, you bet, you win, they pay. Head to Mybookie.ag, use code VSUSPOD to get a bonus on your first deposit. And today, we have a special twofer for you. Today, we are joined by two people who have been on top of the fight game for a long, long time. They are MMA royalty, UFC royalty, the most dynamic duo, one would say, in UFC history, the dapperest scrapper and one of the greatest flyweight fighters of all time, and the queen of all things UFC media, Megan Olivi and Joe Benavidez. Welcome to the show.
Oh my God, that was so nice.
I'm leaving. That was good.
Let's just end on that.
That's a wrap, guys.
That's the pod.
Yeah, that's perfect.
What's going on, guys? I'm so excited for this episode. We both are, honestly.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
I love you. I miss you, brother.
I know. I miss you guys, too.
I haven't seen you for a while. Eric, so good to see you all the time.
First and foremost, before we get started, we got a little gift for the show, from the show, and from my wife Camille, who actually put this together.
Okay,
we
I love Camille.
So hold on.
I know Camille.
Yes,
I seen her the other day.
What? Well, this is like a real gift. What?
It's a real gift.
Oh my God, I see the Trader Joe's cookies in it though. This is amazing. Are you serious? Wait, I'm not crying.
Home Street.
Oh yeah, he thought Honest was Home Street.
Everything kept coming honest, like it's a
Oh
baby.
my God, you
What's
guys.
this Home Street stuff?
Oh my God, you guys are real parents too, so
Yes.
you know
Yes.
what's happening.
And also, there's gift receipts, so in case you hate everything,
No, this
you
is
can
all
return
perfect.
it. But
you.
the cookies,
Wait,
Camille was like,
Yeah.
so she's been talking about them. I don't know if she's gonna think this is creepy or not, but I'm gonna put these in here.
They're almost gone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're almost
We have a
gone.
box that's
I bought them
Yeah.
2 days ago.
Yes.
They're almost gone.
Awesome.
That's perfect.
Yes.
Sweetheart.
Yes,
Thank you
so
guys.
that's from the
Thanks,
show.
dads.
Real parents, like
Yeah, like so you know what's happening.
Yes.
It's all gonna be good stuff.
We know
we
what's in
don't.
there and what's happening.
No,
We
we
have
do
no
not
clue.
know.
But yes, that's
guys.
from the show. That's from Camille, my wife. Shout out to my wife.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Yeah.
Camille.
Yeah. So first and
Thank
foremost,
you, Randy.
how you guys feeling? Like, how are you feeling? Are you guys excited? Like, how's this whole process been?
Really excited. I feel slow and tired, but otherwise, I feel very blessed to say that like I feel pretty good. Just like large, and sleep is hard because you guys know this, but you can't sleep on your back, you can't sleep on your stomach, and then you just rotate from side to side because like your hips start hurting on one side, so you go to the other. So you're not really sleeping, but I like to think that's how God prepares us for a newborn. But otherwise, I think we're excited. I also think like maybe ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
Like we don't know what's gonna happen, so like we're just like maybe more excited than we
adapting.
should be, or less
No.
nervous than we should be.
Yeah.
But like we don't know, so we're just gonna like deal with the hard times when they come instead of right now.
More importantly, how's Benny taking this?
Oh my
that's-
God! So Benny
That's funny.
hates me. It has
It's
been
so weird.
devastating.
It's very weird.
So I found out I was pregnant at the end of October, and shout out to the World Series. And
He was there.
yeah, that's how I found out. 3 days after I found out, Benny literally stopped interacting with me and still doesn't.
Oh,
He,
no way.
It's
yeah,
sad.
he won't sleep with me. He won't cuddle with me. If I'm in the house and Joe's not home, he will only stay outside of the house.
What?
So like yesterday it was raining
really weird.
and I had to lock him inside. I had to close both of his dog doors because it was raining and like kind of hard.
Yeah.
And
Dude
if
would rather like take hell to the dome than
Yeah.
get petted on a couch.
Yeah, with his
Serious.
mom, who's just
Like,
taking care of him
he's
for
just like,
12 years.
wow.
It is
Yeah.
the most devastating thing. Every person I talk to is like, I've never heard of that. My dog loved me more. I'm like, well, it must be fucking
Yeah.
nice.
Fuck you.
Yeah,
But I was totally kidding.
No.
Because I just know Benny.
No,
He's
he
not happy.
hates
No,
me.
yeah, it's so
Hates
weird.
me.
Oh,
like,
my
and it is
God.
weird. Like, he's always on the couch. He's just like our guy, and he'll go outside. He just stands by the gate, and like I said,
Waits for Joe.
He would rather like watch rain and like get held on, literally get held on, than like be pet by his loving parents.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah, it's really sad. And
He's
like,
gotten a little bit better the last 2 weeks.
A tiny bit.
Because maybe it's been windy, and I don't know. Maybe we're at a point, but
like-
you know, he'll come around. I think. I have faith in him as a
I
big
don't.
Happy
brother.
when he sees
As a
it.
big
Yeah.
brother, he's gonna know because
Fingers
he's
crossed.
looking at the
Well, yeah.
room and the crib happening
Yeah.
in there, and he's like, "Whoa, what's happening?" He's like smelling stuff. He likes a new rug.
Yeah.
So I think he's gonna be
man,
a
I
good
hope.
big.
I don't know if
brother.
you guys saw, but like Knox and Murphy are like this.
yeah.
Oh, really?
So like,
Oh,
yeah,
your
when-
story you posted
Oh yeah,
the
but
other
like
day,
when
yeah.
That's
Annie
the
was
dream.
pregnant with Knox, it was like, dude, Murphy was like on the hip.
Really?
And then when we brought Knox home, dude, that dog did not leave that kid's side. So even when he goes to bed at
he's gonna be
night,
good.
every like Murphy and Knox are like just.
I
That's
hope.
weird, yeah.
I hope.
I got a
was-
small amount of faith left in Benny.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kobe was different. Kobe was like standoffish from Camille. He wasn't like don't touch me, but he was standoffish. And then the second the baby came home, like obviously just smelled everything, was all over him.
Yeah.
He actually ate his beanie that he comes home in. Like the beanie had
Yeah, 'cause
fallen
you're supposed
off.
to give it to him,
yeah,
right?
and Kobe ate it. Like
like, my-
he just
my
he just
beanie.
it swallowed it all. And I'm like, what the fuck? Now they're like best
That's
friends.
love.
That's awesome.
Because
Yeah, that's love.
That's love.
Cash
That's love.
won't leave Kobe alone now.
Oh,
He'll
yeah.
call. He'll like grab stuff out of his mouth, like which we try to not have him do. But and Kobe's, Benny's small. Kobe's
Yeah.
not big, but he's medium sized, like 70, 65
Yeah,
pounds.
that's big.
And but Cash like won't leave him alone. And Kobe will get up and go stay over here. Cash will crawl over. Then he'll get up and go over here. Cash will crawl
I
over.
hope that's how it goes.
Yeah, so
It's gonna be good.
it'll be good. They'll get used to each other. But
Have to.
But good. I'm glad you're feeling good. I'm
Yeah.
glad everything's going
She's
good.
Yeah.
doing amazing.
Really
She's doing
lucky.
amazing. Also, just working as crazy as she was the first trimester.
Oh, that was-
second
Yeah.
trimester.
Times were tough.
Well,
You
I wanted to
know,
ask
it
you
was-
about
it
that.
it was crazy. I was like, "You're tired just from work and just from the first trimester. You're doing
Yeah.
both." You know,
Yeah.
she would just fall asleep
Yeah,
like mid-sentence.
because that
She
UFC
could.
grind is different. Like, and I'm
Yeah.
not shitting on anyone else's job who works when they're pregnant. Like, y'all are superheroes. We all know that. But going city to city and state to state, country to country, that shit's a lot. And especially
Yeah.
when you're pregnant, like flying and all these things.
Yeah, and-
was it tough for you? Like,
yeah, especially with football season on top of that.
Oh,
So
that's
like
right.
18 weeks
oh,
of
I
football.
didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So even if I worked a Saturday, like, UFC's Wednesday through, you travel home Sunday.
Yeah.
You travel in Wednesday, travel home Sunday.
Yeah.
But then for me, even if I happened to have a weekend off from UFC, I did not have it off from NFL. But if I worked UFC, I'd take a red eye or a 6 a.m. flight to get to the game and not sleep for like 37 hours. So it was like probably the hardest thing I will ever do, because you're sick. You're nauseous at all different times. Every week I was like, this is the game I throw up on the field. Like, this is it. What am I going to do? I'd like stand by the team's garbage cans just in case. Like, I'd watch
So,
the
Jaden,
bench.
how are you?
Yeah, well, yeah, I remember it was a Lions-Colts game, and it was a mess. I was like, I had super morning sickness, and then like we had a 3-row SUV, and nobody knew I was pregnant, so all the guys were like, all right, Olivi in the back, and I'm like, fuck. And I got in the back and I was so car sick by the end of it, and it just didn't let up. And I was like, oh, I'm going to throw up on Jonathan Taylor like right now. Like, I was interviewing him before the game, and I was like, this is going to be so bad.
I don't think a lot of people know this though, but you don't do any teleprompter stuff. Like a lot of people don't know everything
Yeah.
you're saying is from memory.
Yeah.
So like your prep work is even super deep and on top. Like you and Yannick, right? Both of you guys.
Yeah, that's the hardest part is
Right.
honestly the prep work, because we write everything ourselves. A lot of people also think like the UFC supplies us with scripts or whatever it might be. Like, absolutely not. Like, we do everything on our own, and that's sometimes what makes the storytelling challenging on some days, and truly the most fun is like my whole idea is like, how can I make people care? What angle can I bring to the table that's different than like what the guys at the Octagon are going to talk about and make people care? But then you're writing for days, you're researching for weeks, and you know, Friday nights, poor Joe, I'm just like, okay, what are we ordering from Postmates? Because like I will be working all night on scripts, and then Saturday you just devote to memorization, and half of it goes out the window if fights go long, and sometimes if fights are short, they're like, okay, can you talk about this fight for 90 seconds, go on air, and you're just like, okay. And the same with NFL, like people don't, there's no prompt, at least for NFL and Fox, my crews, there's no prompters involved, so it's just like
for the booth and the sideline.
Yep. So you better just have, and as you well know, things very much change before a football game, depending on what warm-ups look like, depending on what 90 minutes before the starters are released or the rosters for the game are released, and so you might have prepared something that was like really fun and interesting, and you have it memorized, and then you're like, oh, just kidding, just kidding. So
I think it's cool because like she'll call me during a fight week and just ask nothing about the fight, but more about the fighter, and get to know the fighter better, and then then you'll see her do her like walkout or whatever else. Like, oh, cool. So she kind of like ties everything to a more of a personal effect for each one of the fighters. It's and then for her to do that all off of memory. You know?
So when you're on your paper, like, do you have like hints or like like outline, or like is it?
No, it's a real script because
Okay.
at least for me, I can't speak for the other reporters, but I think we all do it pretty similarly. When we rehearse, we get a maximum of 36 seconds for that walkout, and we literally can't go over it. There's a lot of times there's ad reads or they're already at the Octagon. We have to make sure that the sponsor, like sometimes when they're getting Vaseline, there's a sponsor there, so you can't walk over that time. And so I'll memorize it, but I don't do any of my hits holding paper either. So like, there are definitely times, specifically when I've been pregnant, where I definitely like forget mid hit, like, what the heck am I supposed to say next? But thankfully, I've at least like talked to them so much that even if it was what I prepared or not, I can still like kind of make it go. Yeah, Miami was probably the worst because the security guard like he kind of like pushed me by my stomach. He didn't realize I think he was trying to prevent something worse from happening because I was like maybe gonna get run over, but like scared me so much that for the maybe one of the only times ever my train of thought was completely gone, and then I was just like, yeah, I don't know what I was going to say here, but I'm just going to like say something else and then end it. Yeah, so it's weird.
Joe, what's life been like for you in like prepping for the baby to come? Like obviously being the male role, that's the three of us. We know that role. Like what's your kind of
what's camp like?
Dude,
I mean, it's crazy, like everyone always asks like, "Oh, are you ready?" You're like, "Dude, hell no."
Yeah.
Like, but you're trying to get ready. You're going through it together. Which is great. But I mean, it's hard because we've never done it. Like we just said, it's like the ignorance is bliss, but it's not really bliss because you're like, I know I should be doing something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, she's pregnant. She's doing this. So it's like, I told her, I was like, be the director. Like if there's something I'm missing, because like, you know what I mean? Like the women know what we're doing. And
smart.
It's like obviously building stuff, putting rugs, picking out rugs, picking out art, picking out the like stuff like that.
He told me that was the hardest part of. He's like, you know what the hardest part of this is? Picking the wall art for the nursery. He's like, oh, that's the hardest part.
It's different hearts.
He's an artist.
There's different hearts. Yeah, I was in charge of the aesthetic, so I'm like picking the stuff so it's hard because they're not going to be babies forever. Like, we really just want them to be like, a teddy bear. Yeah. Like we want them to have something cool too. Like what's the theme? Is he a Western guy? Is he a beach guy? Okay. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So so that's tough. But yeah, it's just everything. It's resources. Yeah. Whether it be people that you actually know and can talk to and ask questions and text and stuff like that. And also just like YouTube is the best.
Yeah. Oh, bro.
Like
YouTube
for everything.
University.
Yeah. YouTube's so sick. Like just to get on and just, hey, things for new dads. And then you can go down the wormhole and like a video will pop up that you didn't even think about. Like, overnight bag. And you're just like, oh, okay, I can see that. Yep. Which when I first heard the overnight bag, I was like, overnight? And she's like, yeah. I was like, at the hospital?
You didn't know.
Yeah, I was like, oh, we stay there?
Joe, stay the night, brother.
Other prep.
Shitty ass fucking couch, chair couch.
And you will not complain one time about it.
Yeah, other prep includes basically like sending like pregnancy reels to each other and stuff like that. But no, just doing that, and then like obviously
we still do that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit.
Yeah, and then it's just all like getting other priorities straight that you know you're not going to have time to do when the baby comes the first 100%. Few months, and but also like training yourself, like she said, she's the best, and it's like taking the like I can't sleep right now to like, well, it's that's prep. Training me for the baby. Yeah. So I'm just like prepping my mind on everything. It's like, all right, like I don't, you know what I mean? Just prepping myself discipline wise and stuff. Like, how is this going to be, you know, waking up early, maybe not sleeping, maybe not going to do everything I want every day. Yeah. You know, like sometimes I can.
If I'm being honest, like I think for you guys, like former professional athlete, you've been in this profession for so long, you have a routine. Like, I think you guys are gonna get like into a routine pretty quickly.
I hope.
You know, because that's
what
like,
it's all about.
It is honestly. It really like is. Camille and I did that. Man,
because fighting's a metaphor for life.
Yeah,
is what we're saying. Yeah. I mean, it is. Like when I say like the way she looks at the positives, it's like, yes, of course I do the same thing. Yeah. Whether it's like working out, pickleball, life, work, you know, whatever. It's like, oh, everything I went through in my career as a fighter and heard from coaches and saw from other people, you just apply that, you know, to 100%. The next thing.
You know what I'm excited for you is you guys been together for so long, right? And like Annie and I were together in high school. I fell in love with my wife in different phases, like a high school girlfriend, college, my fiance, my wife. But I'm excited for you when you fall in love with Megan as the mother of your child.
Yes.
It's different, bro.
It is.
It is
the
different. I got goosebumps.
Yeah,
it is so different. Like, you love her in this way right now, and like you never think you could love her any different or any more. But when you see her as the mother of your child, dude,
you're making me tear up.
Yeah,
it's the best thing ever, man.
It is.
It really is. Like, because you know your wife is, even your husband, same thing. Like, you're nurturers, you're loving, you know this about each other. But when there's this little human there, bro, and you're just like seeing her.
We made this guy.
Well, we did a little this much work, and y'all did that much work. But yeah, it's like. That is honestly, like, when you said that a few weeks ago with a different guest, I forget.
I said it with you though, like,
you did. But it is so cool. It gives you like just this, like, and I said this too, like, no matter what, if anything, God forbid, anything were to ever happen, like, that's the mother of my children, and it's like a whole different respect and love. And, it's cool, man. Yeah, I'm excited for you guys to see that too, because it's fucking awesome. It really is fucking awesome.
You know, we get 911 texts from us. Just come over.
What's up, guys? Thank you for watching the show. I appreciate all the comments, all the love, all the support. But if there's anything we can do better, if there's guests you want to see coming on, let us know. Put it in the comments. Tell us what we can do. Now, back to the show.
Joe, I wanted to ask you, man, because, you know, you've been retired now, I think, what, 3-4 years? Almost 4 years?
I think 4.
But you kind of like... You've kind of like stayed off the grid in a way, like, you know what I mean. You haven't really been like out in front of the camera at all. I feel like in any is that by design?
Thank you guys for having me on. This is cool. You know,
but is that
I never get to talk to people anymore. No one cares what I do. No one asks me questions. You know,
that's my point of this question is like, is that by design? Because I feel like there would be ample opportunities for you to be around the fight game in front of a camera, but it feels like you kind of just want to, you know, hang back and watch movies and listen to Kanye.
No more Kanye.
Yeah. Sorry, no more Kanye.
Listen to Kanye. Maybe not the new stuff.
Yeah.
You know? The old stuff.
The old stuff.
Yeah, you know, I wouldn't say by design. I think it is a little bit like in my nature in a way. Yeah. So it's came very natural just to like, oh, like, I'm not here. I'm not going to the gym. No one cares. Oh my God. I'm like left alone. And it's kind of nice, and like, you know, I'm just with my wife, like, I'm, you know, kind of at peace in a way. But yeah, I can't say I don't, you know, wish for more like opportunities and stuff that I think could, maybe I haven't applied myself to do so as well. But I think a lot of that maybe has to do with, I think it's like it's an interesting maybe relationship I have with fighting and like my career and like the sport and everything in general. And I think, you know what I mean? I think that's kind of kept me out of stuff in a way too, and kept me out of like applying myself or trying to do something in the sport. You know what I mean? And you know, I'm trying to get into the gym and everything like that. And sometimes it's just like, you know, like,
I think there's a lot less pressure for him now I mean, the last year he's been coming in and drilling more and being around the guys more. And then with like kind of the time off that he's had, I feel like I see like a brightness in his eyes when he comes in, because it's like, I don't have to be here. I can be late. I don't care about, you know what I mean? Like, none of this really, but
well, I could be late when I was training too. And I was sometimes, but no, just
the best is he would come in late and he'd be like, Eric, I have zero excuse. I'm just late. There wasn't even traffic. There was no traffic at all.
No, my line is every time I walked in late, I'm like, guys, sorry, man. There's no traffic at all. I was like, what? There's just no traffic.
Yeah, no, I'm just late.
Well, I wouldn't be sorry if there was traffic, because it's the traffic's fault. But I'm sorry because there was nothing.
No traffic to make me late.
He would leave the house and he'd be like, it only takes me 10 minutes to get there. I'm like, no, it doesn't. It takes like 22 minutes. And he's like, no, it only takes me 10 minutes to get there. And he knew
every day I can make it to Extreme in 10 minutes, even though every day it took 20.
Yeah.
The next day I was like, I can make it in 10. You know. But no, it is. It's great being in there, and like I love it, and it's like nice not having pressure. But I don't know. It's like I had that life and I like it, and like you're always gonna miss that, and it's such an attachment. I'm so grateful for everything that happened, but like once I like settled into this new life, and I was like, oh, maybe no one cares, or like I'm kind of at peace, and the world goes on, and I just gotta adjust to like a new life. It was kind of nice. Like I'm like, oh, like I'm nice. Just I'm a regular person, like the most regular 40-year-old. You know, like. I like have a real estate license. I play pickleball and I ride the Peloton. Like you don't get more normal than that. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of nice. And even like going to, you know, pickleball and like just people you're just another person in a way, you know? And so I do kind of like that, but it's like, that was an amazing life. Like I said, that I'm grateful for. And like, do I miss it in a way? Like, yes. Do I want to be involved because it was my life and like give back in a way? Yes. But I think for me, it's finding the right avenue for that, you know, that's genuine to me. Like, I'm not going to talk about fights all day. Right. You know, I'm not going to coach. And I just know those aren't things that really, like, serve me and, like, that I'd be passionate about. So I think it's about, like, applying myself in a way to the sport that I think is, like, meaningful to me and just, like, the right, you know, kind of thing for me. Or maybe not at all. Maybe
I think it's the right mix for you, though. Like when you come in, you'll come in like once a month or a couple times and train. But like when he's there, it's like the energy levels up. He's always giving great information. Right. But it's not a 9 to 5 for him. Right. It's like, dude, I get to come in and help Cody, or I get to come in and help Dan or Kai or the guys that he loves and likes and wants to be around.
Yes. Makes it more fun.
Yeah, but it's more. For me, I feel like he feels more valued in those scenarios, right? Like,
I love those times. You know? Yeah, going in, people respecting you. Nice. Yeah. No, but no, I love that, and that is so valuable to me when I go in. Like sometimes I go in, I'm like, oh, I just want to go get a workout, because like I work out in my garage, work on the Peloton, love it. You know, shout out to Tunde, hit her this morning. You know, ride the Peloton is great. But like I go into the gym and I'm like, I know I'm gonna get a workout, and then sometimes just out of whatever, you know, coaching or whatever, I'll start doing more drills and I'll realize I didn't even get a workout in, but it was almost felt better. Like I didn't get the workout I was craving, but I was like, oh, that was more value to me just to help out and stuff. Yeah. So, you know, my goal has been for a while, like be more consistent. Then I do it for a month, but then it's hard for me to stay on a consistent schedule, I think, with everything, especially now. Yeah. So yeah, it's something I want to be involved in. I like being off the radar because it's just in my nature and it's good. And there's nothing really that would really bring me in too much, but it's like, is there something that I would want to do? Yes. If you're listening to this and you need me for something, holler at me. You know, that would be cool to do on the radar in the fight world.
When he comes to fights, though, like a lot of times, especially since I've been pregnant, I've tried to have him at even the Apex shows. Yeah. Like, can you just come for the main card? I don't know. I just get paranoid and I want him there just in case. But a lot of times I'll be like, oh, I don't really want to go. Joe goes, and he is the light of the room. Oh, yeah. Everybody is so excited that he's there. All the fighters backstage are like, well, is Joe going to come back here? Like, can I go, can I go see him? All, like, the commentary team, all the producers, all, you know, Daniel's assistant and Anik's brother, like, they all love being around him. So it's like, dude, everyone loves you. Like, what do you do? You're the mayor. Like, but every week he's like, oh, I don't want to go. And then he goes and everyone's like, Joe.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I work here every week. And they're like, oh, hey, Megan.
Hi, Megan. Joe.
No, it is fun.
I want to touch on, you mentioned like you had an interesting relationship with fighting. Like, I want to kind of dive into that. What do you mean by that? Like, are you like, is it with your career? Is it with the sport? Is it like, what is your relationship?
I don't know. I think it's a little both, honestly. You know, it's like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I would say when he retired, he was like very happy. He retired on his own terms, and that's like
It's nice.
rare.
And
also.
to walk away in one piece feels great. Like you're just like, oh.
He's the same Joe that I met when he was in the WC. You know what I mean? Which is, you guys know, not always the case, unfortunately, with athletes of any walk of life. And I think like he was happy to retire, but also like maybe had the expectation that retirement wouldn't impact him on a personal level in the way in which it did. And I think a lot of athletes I work with two sports, so I see it on both ends of those sports, is like a lot of athletes think like, oh, well, that was like I played or I fought and that was like my time and now I'm moving on. But it's not like that really for anybody.
Yeah.
Like the people who say it is, it's not really true. Even if like I've worked with players who have literally made $100 million in their career. And so you think like you have all that money, you walk away and like, that's fine. And they're still like struggling with it. And I think there was like a time where he thought it would go a certain way and it didn't. And then instead of just letting all the positive voices come in or like seeing all the good, he just saw like some of the bad, which for me was really hard to witness and like be a part of. Cause like, dude, you also had like a legacy. You built a weight class. You fought for longer than most people could ever dream of. I mean, the average length of a UFC fighter's career is a blink of an eye compared to Joe's, and I think it was just an interesting journey that we're still on, but definitely like getting better.
Yeah, I think I just stay on it because like I feel like I never really coped. I've always done things very like, you know, seat of my pants, like cold turkey style. Like I'm just gonna move here, just gonna do this, just gonna do that. Like
Gonna get sober.
Big things, you know what I mean? Like picking an outfit to go to the grocery store takes me a long time. But like move across the state, stop drinking, stop doing drugs, like, you know, move across the state to train in Sacramento. Oh, let's buy a house here because I need to train here and that's going to be beneficial for me. Like easy things. So I've always just done the big things like that. And I think with the retirement, I thought like, oh, I'm just like not going to fight anymore. It's really easy. Yeah. Right? Like I'm just not a guy that fights. And then I was even like talking to you know, the higher ups. I was like, well, do we have to like say anything or can I just like not fight? They're
Yeah,
like,
he didn't want anyone to know.
And they're like,
you just wanted to
well,
like,
I was like,
get
can I
out.
just like not fight? Like, what's the point? Like, well, you probably can't really do that because people know you and you're on the rankings. And when you come off, it's kind of like a thing. So you'll probably have to do it. And it's funny because that was a thing. Like, so my last fight was in March and I don't think I officially retired till like September. Because it was just kind of like, oh, I don't want to do this. Like, I just don't want to like make it a thing. I don't want to make it a thing.
And I'm like, you deserve the thing.
Yes.
Like
definitely. You deserve the montage, the vignette, the
exactly.
whole fucking, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like when I did it, it's funny because it's like it was the best part. Is like he just hearing people, I guess, kind of peers, you know, everyone reminisce, and you kind of could look back at the journey and what it actually was and be proud of it. Yeah. And I think to answer your question from a long time ago is like that's kind of the relationship I have with it, is like I know it's like in a way like something, well, I know not in a way, I know it's something I should be proud of, but like something maybe doesn't like allow me to, you know. And I think, you know, I don't know what that is because it's like, oh, I should be proud, everyone else is, and like stuff like that. And then so I think it's just kind of hard in that way, you know. As far as my relationship, so it's just kind of like, it's just easier not to be in it because then I don't have to think about it and have people looking at me. I don't know. It's just, it's a tough thing.
And I hate that he feels that way.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, dude, do you realize like what you've accomplished? And you literally like,
and
all these people have jobs because of you.
Yeah.
Like a whole weight class has jobs.
Straight up.
Like twice because you helped make it and then you helped save it. Like, you know what I mean? Like there are people who now like can fighters and fighter meetings thank me all the time. Like, oh my God, tell your husband thank you. Like, they're so nice, and it's like you fought for so long in 2 divisions, and we're at the top of both of them, and you stayed in the top 3 of the world in 2 weight classes for 15 years. Like, that's
10, 15
bananas.
years.
You know, so it's
So no, I'm seeing that, and it's getting better. I mean, I'm telling you, it's been like literally a 4-year process of like ups and downs. Like the first year was bad, like really hard, and it's just like it's gotten better and like all this stuff.
But still not great, obviously.
No. I was just thinking about the first year because it just wasn't good.
Yeah.
You know, and like you don't really think of that. Right now it's great. Like, you know what I mean? And there's other things like it's like there's more important things to obviously think about now. And then like, yes, I got on my path and I, you know, got a job and started socializing, started working out, you know, like stuff like that. Like, that was just good to get off. And now it's a new thing. So nothing else, even with retirement, even matters. This obviously like having a kid and a family. I'm not worried about like, oh, how do I feel about my retirement and my career? Oh my, like I don't think about that anymore. Right. But like it was just like the first year was really hard, and this obviously just makes everything, I guess, like minuscule. Compared to what.
Well, it just helps you put it in perspective, probably a little bit better, right?
Put things in perspective.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny too? I realized also like when I was fighting, it's funny like you say about perspective. It's like, when I was fighting, you know how it is, like watching people fight is the hardest thing. Yeah. Like people you care about. Like you're so nervous for everyone else. Yeah. Like when I'm fighting, I feel good. I'm gonna kill this guy. I'm the best. You know what I mean? But then you're watching somebody like, oh no. But they, you know, they feel confident. It's like hard watching people. But you know what's funny now? As I watch fights, and like, not that I don't love everyone, but I don't care how the fight goes. Like I just watch. Like, and like these are my best friends, and I'm just like, oh, hopefully they fucking fight really good and it's exciting. Yeah. But it's like, it's not that I don't care. It's just like, I know everything's going to be all right. Yeah. You can have the worst loss, the worst this, the worst, your dreams could be whatever. And like, everything's going to be all right. So now I just watch guys and I can just like watch them perform. Cause I'm just like, I was there. I had maybe, and like, everything's going to be all right. Yeah. So, and it is.
That baby will put everything into perspective.
Exactly.
That baby will tell you like, there are times when I go home, or, you know, I pretty much work from home, but when I'm at home and I'm stressed and fucking like, you know, to the brim, but then you see that little smile and you're like, bro, none of that shit matters.
Nothing.
Like none of that shit matters. Like it's cool. It is what it is, but like something this is what matters. Yeah.
Something to show him, something for him to be proud of.
Yeah, that to be proud of. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And also you have the ultimate like trump card, because one day all of our sons will probably try to test us, and you just get to pull out this clip and be like, go ahead, little motherfucker, try me, bro. Try me, bro.
It's very true. It's very true.
Speaking of watching people you care about, I always wanted to talk about your kind of experiences when Joe fought, and how you were like, I don't know if you talked about that publicly before, maybe you have, but just what was that like for you? How did you know, you're working a show, again, you're doing your reads, you have all this stuff going, and then he makes the walk. What are you like? How's that for you? Because I remember a number of instances, but...
it's the fucking worst. Yeah. No, you know what's crazy? I met him in 2009, and I think the first fight of yours I went to was either 2009 or 2010. 2009, yeah. And like, it used to be so fun. And I remember like then, you know, his WEC career, like he fought Miguel Torres and I was in Ohio, and, you know, Miguel Torres was like the face of the WEC. And so, and he was a fan favorite. He was. And so I remember Joe walking out and there was like 5 of us in the arena standing up cheering, and I was one of them, and I was like, I'm so excited. Like I wasn't nervous at all. Right. And then as the fights progressed, I just started getting more and more nervous. Not that I didn't think that he wouldn't win every fight. I had the utmost confidence. It was more that like I got to know him and see how hard he worked and how much he cared, and like how selfless he was in a selfish sport, that I'd be like, I can't do anything to impact this in any way. And like my cheering is not going to help him like at all. And so every fight got harder. And then when I was working, there's like one particular instance that stood out. I mean, towards the end, I had to start like kind of hiding because people would like film me while he was fighting, and that was like very annoying, and I thought like quite disrespectful.
It's
but I mean, it's MMA,
you know?
Right?
But yeah,
there you go. But I remember So normally I would set a timer for 17 minutes if it was a 3-round fight, because the minute between, I would set a timer and I would just pray. I would like have my rosary and just like pray the rosary until someone came and got me if the fight was over earlier. And normally, you know, for the most part, everything was always really nice. But in Brooklyn, our first ESPN show, which was a huge show for us as talent, and then obviously Joe's fighting on it, I was slammed, and I'm doing all these different things, and we had started implementing like the reporter being in the broadcast for the first time, so there's other stuff going on. And we just had all these back-to-back post-fight interviews, and I'm like, well, okay, well, Joe's fighting, like, can we have a pause? And they're like, sorry, they're here. And I was interviewing Cowboy, and I asked him a question, and he's answering, and I hear the crowd go nuts. And I just like froze, and everybody around, all the PR people are going, it's good. Like Joe's doing good. I'm like, okay. And then, you know, Cowboy and Joe fought in the WC, so I've known him almost as long as I've known
WC
Joseph.
Forever.
Yeah, WC forever. Right. And so he goes, wait a second, isn't your man fighting right now? And I said, yeah. He goes, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, we're stopping this. And thankfully, like, he put a stop to the interview, because I was like, what am I gonna do right now? And so then the rest of it, I just like watched on a monitor and was praying. But like, it was crazy. But the best feeling in the world was always just knowing that regardless of the outcome, he could rely on me being there. Like that he could walk backstage and like, I'm here. I usually have a pizza. Like, what do we need? You know what I mean? And so it was definitely a way of life that I wouldn't recommend for people for your stress levels. And I don't really know how we got through it, but it didn't feel like we were getting through anything at the time. But now I'm like, how did I even survive? Like, what? That's terrible. But we did it.
That was the best feeling for me too, is just like, same thing, like relieving so much pressure in the later, like, you know, when you're young and you're just trying to do this, like winning and this and that's the only thing. But then once you lose, which happens to everyone, and you realize like everything's gonna be all right. Like I still have people that love me, and you know, and they're there, and they're gonna care and support for me regardless, win, loss, you know what I mean? And that was her for me. And just like, that was the best thing, where I kind of, you know, could take some pressure off and realize like, this is just a small time. We have a whole life together, you know, now fast forward, you know, and everything. So it's just crazy. Yeah, like the stages of.
And in the lead up to fights, though, Eric can attest to this, like, it was fun. Like, we didn't make it like a stressful thing. Like, we tried to just
we're all fun.
have fun. But that's Joe's personality. It was just like to be enjoyable.
But I think like a family, like you just were very close.
Yeah, I'm always pushing food on everybody except him, and like, you know.
I'm pushing food on everyone else to eat, because I'm like, tell me how watch this to eat.
She was a huge resource for me. We would talk every Friday after the week, and like, you know, 15, 20 minutes she would call, because like Joe's sometimes won't communicate a lot of the things that's going on, and then but he will to her, and then things that are important for me to know. And then she'd call, or we'd have a kind of week review. How was the week? Good. Oh, he's on cloud 9, or he loved everything you guys did, or this or that. So she was a huge resource for me to help understand how to be there for Joe better as a coach, you know, for the last 3 or 4 camps, I think it was, you know.
Most dynamic duo in UFC history.
Somehow I always say when you're talking about, like, when we're talking about like having fun and the family thing, is like, you know, I remember a specific fight, like we were watching, you know, 2 days before the fight, we were watching Pitch Perfect in the Palms Theater. You know,
we were.
Palms, like Palms.
Was that when you fought?
Pearl at the Palms.
Pearl at the Palms. They have the little theater. We were watching Pitch Perfect, like
was that
acapella.
Cejudo or Alex
No,
Perez?
it was like an older
Maybe Alex
one.
Perez?
I remember. I feel it was
when you finished him like 4 times.
I know.
I feel it was older. I don't remember, but like stuff like that.
Joey, but it's all about.
Yes.
That's what I had on his locker. His nameplate. Joey 2 times.
I just feel it's like, you have to have fun doing it. You have to enjoy it and be present, like for all like young fighters. And it's like, you're already doing the hard stuff. Like, it's gonna be hard whether you like it or not, and scary, like, because you're gonna fight. Like, you're gonna fight a guy in front of everybody for like everything you've worked for. You know what I mean? Like, that's gonna be hard. That's gonna be scary. Just like, don't put any more of that on. And that was just how I operated, and that's a good tip. But you know, everyone's different. Some people have to be pissed off all week, or you know, this and that.
I would be pissed off. Like, I fucking hate that guy.
Actually, we were just talking about Joe last practice with Cody Stamen, and we're just kind of saying how Joe, the moment he gets his hands wrapped, that's when that's when it switches for him. We're actually talking about Puna, Joe, a couple other guys, because they're the happiest go lucky dudes you're ever gonna meet. Like, how are these guys mean when they went and fought? Like, I don't fucking know, dude. But when that dude got his hands wrapped, I was like, yo, I ain't touching this motherfucker. I don't even want to look at him.
Different.
Yeah,
But,
just he switched it.
Yeah, but then he'd also still, like, it'd be funny because, like, in the beginning when we were first dating, he'd, like, wave to me or he'd look for me in the crowd. But then, like 6 days before he got married, he fought, which was stressful in itself. But, like, Khloe
was crazy.
Kardashian was in the
That's a
crowd.
story.
We were in Houston.
Yeah.
And Khloe Kardashian was in the crowd, and, you know, Joe's doing his walkout. And you always seem to, like, really enjoy the walkout part of it and, like,
That's fun. 'Cause it
slapping
becomes
hands
real.
with fans.
You're just like,
but,
I'm
like,
really
he
doing
saw
that.
Khloe, and he was just like, and, like,
I did wink at her.
Yeah.
I winked and I waved, and she waved too.
And I was like, who are you winking at? He's like, oh, Khloe Kardashian. I was like, what the fuck?
Okay.
Yeah.
But, like, he never forgot, like, that like, was something he got to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
think sometimes we see, especially, I do think that the influence of, like, social media has kind of changed the way sometimes fighters approach things in every aspect of the game. But, like, you have to enjoy the process. Every time I leave a fighter meeting with someone, everybody says good luck, and I go, and have fun.
Right.
Because that's genuinely, like, the most
Days of
important
our lives,
part.
man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
these are memories to tell the kids, you know,
Exactly.
to tell everyone, to show them, you know,
Yeah.
when they
And,
try
like,
to step up.
not everybody is going to get to live their dream like you. Like, make
Yeah,
it
that
fun,
too.
you know? Like, people have all sorts
Grateful.
of things they want to do.
Yeah.
Gratitude
Yeah.
Take
is
it for
everything.
granted, right? Obviously.
Gratitude's everything
Yeah.
in the sport. And, like, going in and knowing, like, I can do this, and I'm grateful to be here in the gym with my friends drinking a smoothie. Like, the PI'd be like, dude, like, we're, like, hanging out with our buddies drinking a smoothie in
Yeah.
the hot tub. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be so grateful. And then you're not going to squander that day.
Yeah.
Because you're, like, thankful for it. You know,
Yeah.
you're thankful to be there, and then you try hard in practice. Trying hard in practice leads up to better fight, you know?
Yeah, it's got to be, like, mentally exhausting to just, like, be angry all the time or, like, think about your opponent all the time. And that has to be, like, a good way to almost, like, relieve some of the stress of, like, hey, man, like, we still got 72 hours or 48 hours or whatever. Like, let's just have fun.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you too, Megan, because I don't think I've ever even asked you this, but how did, like, the UFC come about? Because I know you went to Seton Hall, right? Did you do a journalism degree at Seton
did
Hall?
not.
Or, like, how did you get into this whole process?
Oh, and, like, a winding road. So basically, I went to Seton Hall, shout out Pirates, for political science. I
Using
had
that degree, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Glad we paid for it. No, I went for political science, and I started interning in New York City as a sophomore. Seton Hall's right outside New York City. And I started interning at News Corp because they were one of the only places in New York at the time. This is before interns got paid. This is when you could only get school credit and
didn't pay
$10
me.
a day per
I
diem.
didn't pay him.
Yeah, exactly. So, so they were one of the only ones that would accept college sophomores. Most of the time, you had to wait till junior or senior year. But I just knew I wanted to, like, start feeling out what truly I wanted to do with that degree. And so I was interning, but I would come in every day, and, you know, yes, I was a very good worker, but I would always just talk about the Yankees game or the Giants game the night before. And so, you know, sophomore year led into junior year, and then at the end of around the end of my junior year, everybody was like, what are you doing? Like, all you want to talk about is sports. You're very good at this, but, like, why don't you follow this path if you like it so much? And honestly, I had, like, terrible preconceived notions about what it meant to be a woman on TV or a woman who worked in sports.
Yeah.
I kind of thought that, like, they got fed everything, that they didn't, like, do any work on their own, that they, you know, it's just all these, like, terrible stereotypes. And then I started looking into it, and I'm like, oh, well, that's not true. And I grew up idolizing, like, Pam Oliver and stuff, but I didn't even think, like, I could be like her. I didn't even think about it. But then when I realized, like, that might be somewhat of an option, not that I ever thought I would ever get to that level, but I'm just like, oh, okay. So I took my GREs and I decided to go to graduate school because I was like, there are a lot of people who want to do the same thing. So I got my master's at Fordham in the Bronx, which, you know, by Yankee Stadium, gotta go there. And and so then I was just interning for a while, and I interned actually on an MMA show. because my brother, who is almost 10 years older than me, is a very accomplished wrestler. We grew up in the Lehigh Valley, which is like one of the hotbeds of wrestling.
Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah. It's like the mecca of wrestling, truly. And my brother was a part of like Team Foxcatcher.
Oh, yeah?
Shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they had their Olympic training team, and then they had a younger team. He was on the younger team, and my dad would take him to practice. I think it was like 3 times a week, and they would come home and they would just have the craziest stories about DuPont and stuff. So I grew up knowing all of that. Like my family grew up wearing Foxcatcher sweatshirts, and he would wrestle at Fargo, and he was on the junior Olympic team. And my sister and I would work wrestling tournaments every weekend. It was just like what
Family
our life
business,
was.
yeah.
It wasn't even like weird to us. I mean, I could tell you half the coaches in the NCAA tournament now because my brother wrestled them or wrestled with them.
Right.
And like I remember I was like, wait, Brian Snyder and like all these guys, like Gary wrestled it. Okay, he went to Easton, whatever. And so I started interning on this MMA show because I had a wrestling knowledge. And Frankie Edgar was the first fighter I ever worked with. And I was like, oh, he wrestled at Clarion. I think that's where he went. And I was like, oh, I knew Frankie from New Jersey because he's not that much younger than my brother. And then I was like, wait, this is cool. Like I grew up basically with these guys, or I grew up like with guys like this. I understand the sport very well. And so I was at a video game party. I got invited to a video game party in New York City for I don't know if it was the first iteration of the UFC game or whatever it was, but I got invited and I was very poor and they had food. So I'm like, yes, I will go. And so I went and I had known some people from the wrestling world who were talking to me, and then they introduced us to some people and they said, oh, do you want to ever work in MMA like full time when you graduate? I guess.
Yeah.
And I got offered a job here in Las Vegas that was more money than I made in New York, but way cheaper cost of living.
Yeah.
So, and I like met this guy a year prior, thought he was real cool.
Okay, so you guys did meet before you...
Yeah, before I even went to grad school.
Hold on, can you
okay.
tell him how he got your contact?
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He asked for my email address.
I did.
Slick.
We still have those on our wedding day. I printed out all those first emails
Yeah.
That
for
is
us.
hilarious.
Yeah, because Gmail keeps everything.
So how'd you guys meet though? Like how'd you guys come across each other?
In the lobby of Mandalay Bay, it was UFC 100 week, and I was there with two of my best friends to celebrate graduating college.
From your undergrad or your...
In my undergrad, yeah. I hadn't even started graduate school yet. I was going to graduate school the next month.
But you were watching UFC then at that time?
Not
Oh, really?
I had interned for this MMA show a little bit, so I had watched like Chuck and Tito and a couple of those, but I was not like devout into it by any means. I honestly just like was very busy with school.
Yeah.
And so I met Joe and we hung out, and like you guys know this about Joe, like number one, I thought he was super cute, but he kind of has this like gravitational pull because he was so confident in who he was. He makes like everybody feel really comfortable and like you can just be yourself. Like he was already sober at that time and he was like 23 years old or something like that. And we're in Las Vegas at this party and people know who he is.
Right.
And he was just like so confident to not drink, and like I said something about Will Ferrell, and then we just quoted that the whole night. And it was like he makes everyone around him feel like good about themselves.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this dude's really cool. So we had talked for a long time, text and email and Skype and whatever it might be. And so when I got offered to move to Vegas, I'm like, well, it is closer to Sky Lake. Like, you know, we'll see how that goes. And I could have always moved back to New York and be poor.
Yeah.
I was super poor already. So like, what was it going to, okay, I tried this for a year, didn't work out. I'm back to being here poor. I can't afford anything. Oh, that's the story of my life.
Right.
That's always going to be there for me.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like I stole breakfast and lunch every single day from work from our green rooms. Like, oh, this has been sitting out for 3 hours and it's going to get thrown away. I'll eat it.
I'll eat it. I'll take it.
Yeah. And so then the rest was history. I never moved back. I mean, I did a season in San Diego for the San Diego Padres, and but that was it. I never.
That's where we got Benny.
Yeah, that's where we got Benny.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
because it was her first, you know, after doing the stuff for MMA.
For Heavy,
website
yeah.
For a while, for heavy.com. She went to San Diego.
Yeah.
And she was like, you know, it was a new place. And then I was like, I think you need a dog. You can take care of it and I'll leave. No,
yeah, that's exactly what happened. He was like, here, 3 days later, he's like, peace. I'm like, oh, okay.
Like, sorry, I got to train, man. You know? But yeah, that's where we got Benny too. So yeah, you did the year there for the baseball, and that was different. And then came back, and since she'd worked on the
Yeah,
I mean,
so
UFC
been a
pre-show.
UFC
Heavy had the UFC like pre-show that they did like
before
officially.
TV deal.
Right.
So then once she came back from that, it's like, well, do you just want to work for the UFC?
Oh.
And you know,
So it's been like 12 years as
Yeah.
an actual UFC employee. I covered the UFC for several years before then, but about 12 years as an employee.
Were you in Las Cruces at this time or at Team Alpha Male?
Team Alpha Male,
You were.
WEC,
Yeah.
2 fights in to
Two fights in.
WEC.
Oh, okay.
I think I had just fought Jeff Curran.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I think my next fight. Yeah. So yeah, I was 2 fights in the WC. So still a young fighter
Yeah.
on the rise, you know, in a way. But with the Zuffa, with the WC organization, I'd already fought in Japan, and then I had 2 fights in WC.
Yeah, that shit was so iconic. The blue
Dude,
mat and
WC was
everything.
sick. It was
the
WC
best.
that was the first fight that I remember, like, actually, because like everybody, like I saw Forrest and
Stefan.
Stefan
Changed
Bonner,
everything.
right? I saw that on TV, but the first
Changed
fight I
it.
actually like seeked out to go watch was Aldo Faber. Out of Buffalo Wild Wings in Hattiesburg,
sure.
Mississippi.
Yeah.
When Aldo just kicked the shit out of him
Yeah.
for 5 rounds or
Yeah.
whatever it was. But yeah, WEC was so iconic.
was the best.
They never had one bad fight ever.
Never.
No.
Never.
Ever.
It was awesome. Like every fight on every card was awesome.
That's where
Yes.
I met Chael. Like
Yeah.
Chael.
So many legends from there.
Yeah, people
too.
don't realize that WC also had like much higher weights for a long time.
For a
I mean,
little, yeah.
Ryan Stan, Diaz brothers. Yeah,
but they
exactly.
became known as like the lighter weight class organization.
Yeah.
But I think in large part that's because of you, like you guys, like
For
Team
sure.
Alpha
Yeah.
Male was. Did you guys? That's a
put it-
question. Did you guys even know that you were like putting on for like the lighter weight classes at the time? Did you have that sense?
In a way, because you knew it was the premier organization for this weight class owned by the company that owns UFC.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you kind of knew, like it wasn't like, obviously you're trying to survive and win the fight every time. So you're not like, oh, this is maybe going to help generations. And, you know, we're going to be in the UFC one day, these weight classes, and, you know, those are going to be the best weight classes in the UFC, the premier weight classes, you know. So you didn't really think like that. But yeah, in a way, you 100% did. Like when I met Faber and he was a 135 champ, and he's like, yeah, they're not in the UFC yet, the weight class, but we're owned by the UFC, and, you know, get in there. So obviously I fought 35 first because there wasn't a thing. But yeah, I mean, you knew like you had something to prove over time, because the funniest thing about being in the WC, the hardest thing was like actually people asking you like, when are you gonna be in the UFC though? When are you going to the UFC?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, they don't have my weight class, and like we're the UFC for this weight class.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when we finally got in the UFC, like when, you know, everything combined, I was like, finally, like everyone's gonna ask me, he's like, when are you going to the UFC?
Yeah.
Because that was just the hardest question.
Because there was like Tachi, right? And that was like
Tachi was WEC, not owned by Zuffa, I don't think. And then when Zuffa got it, went to Versus. Yeah. So it was WEC. Yeah. It was
You fought Tachi Palace, right?
I fought in Tachi Palace, but WC was at Tachi Palace. Tachi Palace. But yeah, so they were over there, and then I think once the organization got bought, Tachi made its own new thing, because that was now owned by the UFC, and that's where
Ulysses
you know,
and-
that's where like Reed Harris was. with
Shout
the
out to
WEC.
Reed, man.
Shout out
Reed
to
Harris,
Reed.
dude,
Yeah.
still doing it. So yeah, that
Still
was
doing
Reed
it.
Harris's WEC. Then it got bought by Zuffa, and then that's when it started going.
Shelby
Oh,
was matchmaking WEC.
Yeah.
Yep, Shelby. When it went to Zuffa, yeah. So then that's when they made it like, oh, these guys are putting on amazing fights.
Yeah.
Let's test it out on WEC, and then eventually,
Yeah.
you know, combine everything. So yeah, I mean, you always did feel like that, like, you know. Then it's the best when you look back. You know, you don't realize what you're doing, but you're like, fucking pioneered the weight class. You know, we
100%.
made
Yeah.
small guys cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We made small guys tough and cool, and people want to actually see it. So yeah, it was cool, and it was just really all, you know, within that gym there. It was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the best. That was.
Yeah.
Did you guys? Was there like an unspoken like pact between like the WEC guys, like all the weight classes? Like when we go to UFC, like we're whooping these dudes' ass. Like I'm tired of hearing about how UFC is the best and this and that. Like,
Yeah.
did you guys talk about that at all, or was it like?
Well, you know what's funny? 45 and down, we were just gonna fight each other and
right.
you guys.
Yeah.
But I think a great thing about WEC, just to your point, is like I didn't know because I wasn't a 55 pounder. But what's funny is I always thought Well, I think people always thought the 155-pound class in WEC was like second tier because there was a 55 in the UFC.
Sure. Right.
So it's like,
It was a narrative for
like
sure.
the 35 and 45s, they're the best in the world. But the 55s are a second tier.
And then Ben Henderson
WC.
went and took a title.
And then Ben Henderson and Anthony Pettis
Pettis.
both came and ended up being UFC champions. Dustin Poirier,
Yes.
155er in the UFC.
Yeah.
And the WEC
Yep.
comes in, you know,
Cowboy.
one of the best ever.
Cowboy.
So, you know, we actually had an amazing crop of 55-pounders, too, that weren't in the WC. So I'm sure tenfold for those guys wanting to be in the UFC, like listening, like, when are you guys going to be in the UFC? And then they went and represented. So it was just, it's great.
I could definitely be wrong, but for some reason I feel like UFC 125 was like the first UFC event where the two were merged. I could definitely be wrong, but for some reason I feel like that might be true. But I remember, because I had just started with
Numbers
heavy.
are hard, though.
Yeah.
So, you know.
But the narrative
remember
was
him,
very
right?
much...
Brian Stan was on that card. He was the co-main event.
That was
So
Frankie
maybe
and Gray. I think Poirier fought on 120. He fought like Crispy on 125, right?
Poirier.
And that dude was a stud.
Crispy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a stud too.
Yeah.
But like, I think that was the first time maybe WC guys came, and I remember the narrative because there were all these matchups for the next couple of months. Was like, okay, well that's nice. They're gonna get like
debut event for the UFC WC.
Was it? Okay, yeah.
January 1st,
Oh.
2011.
Way
Good
to
job, my
go.
brain.
Wow, you're so good at your job.
yeah.
You're
And
smart. You should do this.
You should do this for a
You
living.
should do this stuff.
But I just remember people being like, "Oh, that's cool. Like, these matchups aren't going to go well." And then I believe that the numbers were very heavily swayed in the WC's favor against the UFC guys. Like, I think it was like, "Oh, wait, we might have like underestimated them."
Yeah.
Now, when they brought on the 125 division, that's when they did the tournament before.
They did the tournament. Yep.
And it was Mighty Mouse, you, Torres,
Ian McCall.
and
And
Who was the
Japanese guy.
I was gonna say, who's the fourth? Because I remember McCall.
Arishitani.
He was a Japanese guy. So,
Arishitani.
because Japan was always known for having the smaller
Smaller
weight
guys,
classes.
yeah.
And that's why I always wanted to fight in Japan.
Yeah.
My whole life, because I was like, oh, they love people.
was that in Australia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. It happened Australia, and the finals was in Toronto.
Okay, because
So-
Campman fought
Yes.
Thiago.
Campman
Yes.
was the main event.
Aldo,
Yeah.
And
Thiago Alves,
choked him into
I
like
think.
4 seconds left, and Campman was getting washed.
But that
Yeah, and
And
then
then choked him out?
that
Yeah.
tournament was nuts
Yeah, it
because
was.
they had a miscalculation.
Yes,
Yeah.
I remember that.
So,
How so?
McCall and Mighty Mouse fought. Joe was the first win and the first knockout in the UFC flyweight
History.
division. Also, I'm gonna be a proud wife. Still owns the UFC knockout flyweight record.
Yep.
Retired for 4 years,
Shout
so that
out.
says something.
Yeah.
But they did a miscalculation on the add up of the scorecards.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to actually be a draw.
Yes.
And so they did sign contracts that they had a sudden victory round.
That was
Can't say sudden
crazy.
death.
Yeah.
And so they should have just immediately fought a fourth round, and they didn't.
McCall and Mighty Mouse.
Yes,
Which is
that's
crazy.
right. I remember that.
Like, oh, that would have helped so much because flyweight showed out that day. Like, I got the knockout where they're like, oh, well, those guys can't knock anyone out. Boom, right hook off the counter, off the kick counter,
Yeah.
which is specialty for me.
Weird, right?
I love it, right? So knock the guy out. Oh, well, they can't knock it out. And then McCall and Mighty Mouse just have,
A
you know what
war,
you expect
yeah.
from,
Yeah, they had
from
a great
small
fight.
fights. Oh my
Yeah.
God, like I've never seen speed like this.
Yeah.
Dude, it was such a missed opportunity because that was the first time ever that they're like, oh, there is a sudden victory clause if it happens to be a draw. Well, it's not going to be a draw because
Right.
we don't have draws ever. Right?
Ever.
It's UFC and it's all 10-9, right?
Yeah.
Well, guess what?
Sure as shit.
That was a draw.
Yeah.
They announced one of them.
I can't even remember.
I don't even remember who
I
they
feel like
announced,
maybe
but
they
they-
said Ian won.
No, they did have
Beginning.
Mighty Mouse.
Oh, they
Yeah,
did?
it was
Oh,
Mighty
okay.
Mouse. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Boom, Mighty Mouse is the winner. That was the fight that should have been the sudden death. And then just imagine that was all over. This fight was amazing. It's going into sudden victory. Whoever wins
Yeah.
this, more and more eyeballs.
So they had to take longer because then they had to rematch.
Yeah.
And so that
They had to take
time
longer.
where
Right,
they
and
were
that
supposed
took
to have
longer
the
for
finals.
title fight.
That's
Yeah.
So I
Yes.
want to say this, going back, is like that fucked me because like I
Should
had
have been on this timeline.
Yeah, because I
Instead
had
it was
one
on
fight.
that. Yeah.
It got used to cutting down to flyweight.
Yeah.
Went in there and I knocked the guy. I mean, I had a first round, but then I knocked him out. So I didn't get any reps in there. I mean, I
Yeah.
knocked the guy out, which we always want to knock the guy out, but
Yeah.
you know how it is.
Yeah.
Money in the bank is, more time, feeling comfortable.
Yeah.
Well, not only they had a 15-minute fight, they got to train again, cut again, do that. the way the third round was going, like, who knows who would have won that fourth round? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You know, that was at a time, obviously, like Mighty Mouse, his ascension of skill, like, he just got better and better. Yeah. You know, that was at a time where, like, people were actually competing with him, mm-hmm. you know, and, like, Ian McCall had, that's what I think got it to the tie. Like, Ian McCall, because he was backpan, and that's what got it to the tie. But it's like, who knows how that sudden death would have gone.
Sure. Yeah. I think his only loss at the time was Cruz, right?
And Brad Pickett.
Brad Pickett.
Oh,
Brad
yeah.
Pickett.
Oh,
Brad Pickett
right.
at 35.
Yep, at 35.
Yeah, Brad Pickett.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What a random.
He's been doing some coaching.
Yeah,
We love
and Pickett's awesome, and Pickett was so fun and talented to watch, and that was just an amazing fight. So yeah, you know, like, who knows how that fourth round would have gone, and then, like, we could have been on a regular timeline, but, you know, they got to do that, cut it, you know, do all
Joe
that
got
stuff.
severely hurt
I just
before
had
the
to
first
wait,
Mighty
get
Mouse
severely hurt before a little bit. So, you know,
times.
it is how it is. But, you know, that's always, like, funny. It's like, why couldn't you guys just go to sudden death? Yeah. Maybe, you know, McCall wins. I beat McCall in a fight. I don't know if it would have gone the same. I think it would have. Yeah. You know, I'm the first champion. And you know what? There's like, you know, so it's just, that's just crazy about the sport.
math.
But, like,
it is,
life is, you know.
How timelines work.
So I'm just going to say that. But
yeah. I remember asking Francis this one time. We were at Barry's, and ESPN, like, had his highlights on there randomly, and he was, like, knocking some dude out. And I was like,
who is it?
I was like, do you look at that? And you're like, I don't know who it was. Might have been Jarzinho or something.
Oh,
I don't know.
Sorry.
Oh, Francis.
Oh, Francis was knocking people out. Okay,
Frank. Yeah, sorry.
Big Frank.
And, Big Frank. Big Frank. But he was like, no, like, I don't even like register that. Like, that's not me, you know? So when you look back, like, do you look back at your career and think, like, that's a whole different life that, like, you lived? Or are you able to kind of, like, have that, you know, can you look at it and say, oh, that was me, but just not me anymore?
It's so weird. That's a great question. And it's like, it's such a, like, mix of things, I think, because it's like, look, sometimes I would take, you know, when I would just be a guest fighter at a fight, I would look at the people fighting and be like, what the fuck? Like, I have to do that, like, next month or whatever?
Right.
Like, that's crazy. That's dangerous. You know what I mean? Like, I would do that.
That's
like,
dangerous.
while I was still, it's not safe. Like, what are they doing in there? You know, I would watch that, but, like, I would still be in. I remember watching Gaethje and Michael Johnson that first fight, and I didn't know either of them really. I mean, I knew Michael Johnson just from, and I was like, somebody just shoot. Shoot, what are you doing? You know what I mean? And then, like, but those are the fights where you're like, oh, damn, like, I had to do that in 2 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, like, I would still do that. So to answer your question, it's like, it's funny. It's like I already talked about the retirement is like, I tried to, like, erase it out of my life and, like, I'm just a new person.
Yeah.
And, like, I did try that. It doesn't, you know, like, necessarily work because it's, like, always a part of who you are. And, like, I think since I, like, shoved it down in a way, like, it's taken me longer to, like, cope with, like, hey, like, this was good and this is your relationship with it, and it is good. It is challenging, and it is, you know, taught you all these, you know, values and everything of overcoming and everything. But to answer your question, when I see someone, like, when I see myself knock someone out, I'm like, oh, that was me. No, hell yeah. Like, I was sick. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, like, when I see myself, like, actually knock someone out, I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
Like, I get up, I get up and I, like, shadow box. I'm like, that 100%.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So yeah, like, it's
But
cool. Like, when
skill wise, dude, like, I don't think people really understand. You really evolutionized the stance switch. You, Cruz, a lot of you guys, like, brought that along.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people know that. Like, when especially in the WEC days, you were doing it before anybody was, bro.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, we were taking notes.
People thought he was a southpaw for a really long time, and he's like,
100%.
no, I just switch a lot. Yeah.
But, like, just the resource that you were, even for, like, guys like Kai Kamaka, and understanding the development of not only having offense from both stances, but the importance of their defense out of those stances and the setups. You were doing that before fucking anybody was.
Yeah.
I have a list of things actually that I invented in my head. I have a list of techniques I invented in my head. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I was the first person to ever do that.
Well, you do have, he does officially have one. You do officially have the Joa Constrictor.
Well, I do have that.
He officially has the submission that he finished Canellia with had never happened
when I called
before.
it that, because I called it that, and then they're like, I don't think that's ever been done, because, like, both arms were trapped, so he had to tap with his feet type thing. But no, like, Seriously, there's a
Joe
ton of
constrictor.
techniques I see. Yeah, that was a Joe constrictor. That was sick. I want a Harley off that.
Yeah.
True story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, in my mind, I'm literally like, dude, I 100% made up that technique.
Yeah.
And, like, it's, like, practice now. And I'm just telling the truth. Like, I thought of that. Like, I always was, like, creative in that way. It was just art to me. I knew I wasn't, like, the most technical, but it was, like, I was an awkward style fighter in a way. And it's, like, I thought of a lot of these techniques. But, yeah, like, to go back to the stance switching, is like, that was just huge. And what I realized, like, for that, like, anyone listening, like, on a technical aspect of sport, is, like, what I realized in that is, like, a lot more people are doing it, even heavier weights. But at our weight class, like, MMA is the only sport where the distance is so long, right? Like, in a boxing, like, you're waiting for a jab and you're staying. In a kickboxing, you might go back for a little kick. MMA is the only sport where you feint at someone and they backpedal 4 steps. You feinted them, they backpedal 4 steps. You jab them, they backpedal. In boxing, you wait for the jab so you can slip and rip, right? So you're backpedaling. So it's like, oh, well, like, is it easier to close distance like this or like this? You know what I mean? You got to switch and you got to find that distance and throw fillers before you throw the big one. And, you know, that was a lot of the aspects, because at 25, if they're moving back also faster.
Yeah.
So it's like, how can you close distance faster? Also, being a short guy, how do you close distance? You know, so it all just came from closing distance. And, like, shout out to Cruz. I just talked to him and I left an amazing comment on his thing the other day of just, like, how much he taught me in our first fight. Because the second fight, even though I lost it, it's one of the fights I'm most proud of, because I went in, I knew I was undersized, but I made a lot of changes and did different things, gained weight, because I was like, he was bigger than me, gained weight, and then went and challenged him. But it's like, he taught me so much things, you know what I mean, of just like, oh, how do you actually game plan for a freak show like that that's moving? And, like, that was the first time I really realized, like, I think before that I realized I'd always won, so I realized, oh, what I was doing was right, and, like, how I tried to beat the guy, I beat him. But when I went to fight Cruz, like, I need to do different things. Well, he's moving here. How do I throw this after my right hand? Because after my right hand, he's going so far out. How do I throw? So maybe I throw what they call now the barrel, which is just a step through, you know, a step through overhand with the other side.
That's
and I
one
did
of the
that,
things
and then I
he
did that
taught
in
me
that
the
fight.
most is that.
And I see people do that all the time, and I fill it out. Throw that one, and then throw that next one. So,
but the importance of understanding how to cut the cage off, but being able to do it out of both stances creates more traps and more opportunities offensively. I learned that a lot from him, which I think is kind of cool when you're with the way you're talking about it. It's like, dude, your lineage that you brought to me is now through Kai, through Dan, through, you know, a lot of the guys that I coach, because I got to spend so much time with you and understanding those concepts at an early age, you know?
Who does that the best right now? If you watch MMA, like cutting the cage off from different like switch stances.
Well, you know who's really good at, like, just, like, really good at shifting, like, is I guess what you would call it, because you're kind of, like, shifting from, like, southpaw to orthos. Like, Poirier does it really good, but that's an easy answer, because he's one of the best ever. But he does a really good job of, like, he'll throw his left to the right, or, like, he misses his right, or he misses his left, and he throws a hook off.
Fraser's.
He does that. He Fraser's that. Gaethje's done it a little bit with the miss and the hook.
Barboza versus Barboza.
Yep. Oliveira's done it. I'm trying to think of, like, actual movement. I mean, Corey Sandhagen does great,
at it.
in
He's
a
fun
way,
to watch,
but I feel he's been a little more. He's gone back to being a little more technical and sitting as well with Whitman, but he was so good at that. I mean, O'Malley switch stance is good.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it comes from everything. Like, because I want to say Marab, but I'm not sure. But, like, he does a good job, because a lot of switching stances come because, like, you're going to wrestle and you're going to end up on front leg here. Well, like, you're going to kick and you're going to end up on the front leg you're not used to. Well, what are you going to do? Spend a whole second to reset? Or are you going to know how to strike from there?
That position.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, I can't strike because my left foot's forward. Got to go back.
He does get frustrated watching fights when that happens, though.
Yeah.
Sometimes, especially if it's like a high-level fighter or somebody in like a high-level position, I can tell that he's like frustrated. He's like, what? Like you don't know, you can't. You're top 10 in the world, and you don't know how to like switch stances, or like you don't know how to strike from that direction, or your legs getting chewed up, and you don't.
You can't switch
Who
or
are you
something
excited
like that.
about now watching? Like, who do you watch now, and you're like, oh, dude, like
I fucking like this question. No, because I don't know. Because honestly,
like
sometimes I'm not that excited. I'm excited to watch her on UFC.
Right.
It's still Megan Olivi watch party at my
Megan
house.
Olivi show.
I'm like, hey, does everyone want to come over and watch my wife?
yeah.
Talk
And they're
for
like,
You know
30
what's so
seconds.
funny? Before you answer this question, every time I see her on broadcast now, I just think about you posting like,
Yeah.
That the queen.
Quote, quote, quote. And every time I see her, I'm like, quote, and I'm like, catch myself. I'm like, what the fuck did I just say? Like, because I see you
funny.
post it all the time. So
Megan Olivi watch party at the house.
Yeah.
With
Just
all
him
my
and Benny.
friends.
Yeah.
Because I invited everyone to watch my wife on TV, and then I show
Once the fight
everybody
starts,
which
okay, you
is-
gotta go. Get
Just
out of
yeah,
here.
Yeah. Hey guys, the watch party's over.
Yeah,
Shardy
watch
came
party's
on. You know what? It's funny because like your question, it's hard, and the thing is, there's so many fighters nowadays, and it's like so hard to keep up.
800.
Because so sometimes, forgive me if I leave someone out, but it's like, you watch a fight and you're like, oh, I can't wait to watch them again.
Sure.
But it's like the UFC. You forget about
Yeah.
last week, this week.
Yeah.
You just forget about
Yeah.
what happened last week. So I can't sometimes remember the people, but like I've always loved watching Poirier and Max, and they've, I just love them. And they're going to fight
That
again.
kills me, bro.
What the heck?
Because
I know.
Poirier's
I know.
from where I'm from, right?
Yeah.
Close by. So I love Poirier, but I love Max too.
Yeah.
And I hated their second fight because
Yeah,
I
it's
wasn't working there
lose-lose
the
for
first
everybody.
fight. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm like, and it's in New Orleans. I'm like,
Yeah.
like, come on, man. But anyway,
Do you
go
love the
ahead. Sam.
flyweights?
Yeah, and I love all the fly. Like that's the thing with flyweights too. It's like I'm always watching them, and I'm just like pumped. They put on a good show, get a bonus. People like them, and because that's always good. Because it's always like
You like watching Manel. He loves you too.
yeah,
I mean,
love
but-
watching that guy.
Man, he's so fast.
Yeah.
Like he's so fast.
Yeah.
It's crazy watching him fight.
Yeah, I think yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, dude, there's so much, and I obviously I love like the big names everyone loves.
Yeah.
Them, Max, Poirier, Oliveira is always fun. You know what I mean?
But then, like-
Taporia, Volk is just the best to watch.
Yeah,
Diego
Volk.
Lopez is
Oof.
exciting.
Yeah.
Everyone, I love all the lightweights. For last fight live, for some reason, I'm like, I think I'm a Chase Hooper fan now.
Yeah, he liked his walkout song.
He came out to get him high on the
did he?
college dropout.
On College Dropout,
I was like,
yeah.
dude, how old are you
Yeah.
to know that? And it was just a cool thing to see like him all come
Yeah.
out like all cool and like nerdy in a way, and his
Yeah.
fro like come out to Kanye, but like that era Kanye was like nerdy as well.
Yeah.
But it was just like get it high, and it was just sick. And then he just puts on a great show, and like what I love about him, he's unassuming.
Yeah.
Like I love that about fighters. Like you look at Francis and like he can kill me 100%. But when you look at Chase Hooper and he can kill you, it's just the coolest. He has his little baby.
Yeah.
And I was like, he was just cool, and he just goes out there and he's like so skilled. His jiu-jitsu is incredible, but his stand-up was good. And like I saw the entrance song, I'm like, that dude.
Like
Yeah,
you said.
I was at the ESPN desk and Joe was texting me like, "Oh, there's walkout song." I'm like, "I can't hear it."
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh my god," because we
Yeah.
actually like always rap part of that to each
Oh,
other.
it's such a great song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
But-
about you, Megan? Like you get front row, you're sitting there. Like
Yeah.
who do you like? Oh, I'm a fan of watching this person fight.
Honestly, I wish I had a cool answer, but like I'm gonna say something that you probably are gonna be like, "Oh, it's politically correct," but like everybody.
Sure.
Because I watch, now I'm almost 40. I watch these kids who like had a dream and they're living that into a reality. And I think for us, we get to know them on like such a personal level that you also just like want the best for them.
Sure.
And it's hard because only one person gets their hand raised. And so for me, I'm just like, okay, let them be safe, let them have a good performance, even if they don't win, like let them like find something to be proud of, and then, work from there. Because also I see like a big flaw in our sport where even if you have a really great night, you don't allow yourself to think about it.
Yeah.
Like half the winners come over to me for interviews and I'm like, do you even feel like you're won? And I'm like, you have to celebrate that. I remember Joe had some of his biggest career victories, and the next day it was just like, okay. I'm like,
Do you think it's because the highs, the lows, the lows?
And I think it's also like the pressure of the sport.
Sure.
You're immediately asked what's next.
Yeah.
I'm part of the problem, but it's unfortunately part of our job.
It is, yeah.
But like you can have every challenge and hurdle ahead of you, and you still accomplish your goal, and you still won the fight or had a good performance, even if you didn't get the hand raise.
Right.
And it's never like just enough.
Yeah.
Because that's never the end. And if it happens to be the end for the 1 in a million fights that we have where they're retiring or whatever, it's okay, well, now what? That you're retired, you know? And I think the now what sometimes gets in the way. So when I watch anybody fight, like, I'm just so excited for them to have the opportunity to do what they've trained for and to do like what they have dreamt of for so long. There are certainly people that like we know better than others, or, you know, so then you're like, you're more nervous for them, but genuinely, I do not care whoever gets their hand raised, except when they were fighting Joseph Benavidez, and that's, you know, Jiu-Jitsu needed his hand raised, and that was the only time I ever cared. Otherwise, I'm just always very hopeful that, like, they have a performance to be proud of. Because that's really, I mean, at the end of the day, you can't control a lot about fighting.
Sure. You can't control it.
Yeah, and so if you can just be proud of what you put out there on the canvas, like, I hope that that carries them through, you know, enough to the next one.
What's up, guys? Get on the sports betting action by going to Mybookie.ag. At Mybookie, it's easy. You bet, you win, they pay. Mybookie has over 150 bets for you to choose from anything from fights, hoops, football, prop bets, minute bets. It's all there. Head to mybookie.ag and use code VERSUSPOD. Not only will you get a 50% bonus on your first deposit up to $1,000, you'll also get a $10 casino chip. That's a lot of money there. I've seen large parlays cash for less. Yeah, every once in a while, like, you know. Again, head to mybookie.ag and use the code VERSUSPOD. You bet, you win, they pay. Now let's get back to the show. Joe, so like Mateus makes his debut May 17th, a kid you've known sitting in the gym forever.
Yeah.
Like, what's a piece of advice you'd give these young guys in like starting their UFC career? What's something that you would tell them from your perspective?
Wow. Man, that's hard because, you know, like I'm really like, it's so hard to give advice because I truly believe like everyone's different and made their path, and like maybe I don't take myself serious enough or whatever. And it's just like, well, just because I thought it, maybe, you know, like that might not work for someone. Like if someone wants to have fun, you know, like maybe they want to be like, if I tell someone to have fun, maybe they want to be pissed, you know? But I don't know, man. I think it's a lot what she said, and like just, I mean, it's going to sound cliche, but like enjoying the moment, being grateful you're there. You know what I mean? Like, and it's really hard when you're young to know, like, you can only control what you do. You know, you can't control everything else that's happening there. What the guy does, you can't control the result. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think, I mean, it's a hard thing to say, just going in and enjoying it. Obviously, is a huge thing the week of the fight. Like, you're only going to have your UFC debut one time. You know what I mean? And so enjoy that. And it's like a long journey, but being a long journey, you know, I mean, maybe it's not, you know, what I tell guys
too, like I notice now, I mean, we're there for the Tuesdays or the check-ins, and how often you see people bitch and moan about signing the posters. Right. And I think it runs so deeper than that. It's like, why are you upset about something you dreamed about to do? I know it's a task and you're signing 200 of them, whatever it may be. But I always tell those young guys, dude, enjoy signing those posters, because one day you might not be signing these fucking things again, you know?
Yeah, I kind of, the way I like just dealing with, you know, fighters every week and different aspects of their career, like kind of what you asked Joe and going off of what you just said, for me, it's also like, there's got to be a balance of the confidence you have within yourself, but also like the work you're willing to do to have a successful future. I think oftentimes some of the biggest names in our sport, some of the most successful athletes that we have had in history on our roster, let alone currently, are the most humble. And they're the ones who treat the staff with the most respect. They're the ones who don't take anything for granted, who won't complain about signing posters and then signing extra posters or whatever it might be. And then sometimes there's maybe a newer crop of people who don't emulate those same characteristics or similarities, and you can see it kind of bite them in the butt at some point. Might not be immediately, but it never is like, oh, you get all the way down the road with that type of attitude. And I think that there's so much to be learned from the guys that are still doing it and still have that type of attitude and response to the opportunity set in front of them. And listen, we get it. Like, cutting weight, he would have, if he was a main event or a title fight or whatever it might be, there's so much responsibility that comes with it. There's so much time and effort, and we're waking him up to do radio calls, and I'm sorry, and he's like, well, when can I eat? And he's eating, walking down the hallway. Like, but the people who have had the most success in the sport also emulate all the good characteristics of treating, from Camille to Heidi Dean to Deidre to whoever it might be, with respect, showing up on time, being appreciative, understanding that those are people's jobs, but also understanding like your success in the sport is most of the time a direct reflection of the work that you put in, not because you have a lot of social media followers or whatever.
I'm so glad that you said that, because, and I'll get into a little bit more detail with you guys after, but I had a conversation because of, somebody that was left off the roster a couple days ago, and I called Mick and we had a great conversation. And that was literally the first thing I brought up about a representation of your company. Somebody represents your company as well as they do, but how important it is to the way that they treat the staff, the blue shirts, and the people in the UFC PI. This person, this individual is the type of person you'd want to hire, number one, to represent your company.
Yeah.
And I think people fail to understand that, because I've seen people get cut just because they treat blue shirts, or blue shirts of the staff.
The hardest working staff in the entire company. It is unbelievable.
Blue shirts, they know what I'm referring to. Yeah. But I look at, I was in the service industry for 20 years. And I look at people's character sometimes, the way they talk to a server, they talk to the bartista, they talk to people that maybe not, they're not going to give them anything that they need or want or whatever it may be, and they treat them like shit.
You could tell a whole person character by the way they treat
a valet, a server, whatever.
People that can't do anything for them.
Right. And when fighters treat people, the blue shirts or the PI, wrong, I'm telling you, they're gone. And you and I have seen that.
And it catches up.
Yes.
And that was
it goes, right? People hear about it.
Yeah, it catches up. But I also think, like, as a wife, that's probably what I was most proud of with Joe. Obviously, I'm unbelievably proud of his career and everything he accomplished, for his weight classes and for himself and for the future of those divisions.
Too.
Right. But when he retired, staff members cried.
Yeah.
Because they loved working with him so much.
Yeah.
And that meant the world to me, because, like, there were lots of hard days where he didn't, need to be the friendliest person, but he was, because it was important to him. And to have staff members like crying and saying like he was my favorite fighter to work with or whatever it might be, like that meant more than anything else, because there are hundreds of people on that roster and not everybody operates in the same manner.
There's some assholes.
And I think if you're coming up in the sport, I don't care if you have 20 million followers on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or whatever it might be, and you're making way more money off that and then anybody else is in the building. Like, how you treat people will directly reflect also your career. You're never going to become like a Dustin Poirier or an Israel Adesanya or whatever it might be if you're a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
How
you do one thing's how you do everything.
Anything,
right?
well,
It's the kind of thing.
yeah.
It's like how you do anything's how you do everything. And it's like, why is the most, successful one at this poster signing, the like
Bitching
why is he
and
why is he the most like grateful, unproblematic, but
Right.
you know what I
Taking
mean?
time to really
Why is
sign his
he-
name.
Yeah, why is he
Not like,
like I was like, oh, why is he the least entitled?
Right.
When he should be the most, you know what I mean? And you see that all fight weeks. I'm just like, wait, what? You know what I mean? But it's like how you do something like,
Yeah, but I
they
mean,
have
can
nothing to
I
prove.
just say, like, dude, like you've always been, from all of us, from coaches, you've always taken such good care of every single one around you. And I think that's important for people to understand, especially from my perspective, who's been in this game for 17 years now, and coach fighters who don't care as much. But there's never been a time where, like, on a fight week where you're buying fucking, buffet of food for everybody, taking care of everyone. But when it came down to paying your coaches, dude, you were over the top in taking care of the people that helped you and that you were surrounded with. I think that's important for people to understand, because it's not an everyday occurrence.
That's such a shitty thing about this sport too, because it's a trickle down. It's these guys aren't getting taken care of like they should be. And so it's like this trickle down to the coach, and the coach to the next coach, and you know what I mean. It's like,
but it sets a standard. It
a
sets standard, and
saying,
people
like,
go like Eddie Baraka would jump off a fucking bridge. We would take a bullet for Joe,
right?
Just
That's
because of the way he
like,
treated us.
Exactly, it makes you appreciate the ones that actually do, because you hear these horror stories of very, very high level, top 1, 2, 3 champions who are getting paid, pretty well, that aren't reciprocating the time that went into making them a champion.
I think the reverse can also be said of like somebody can have found a lot of success in this day and age on a podcast or social media or whatever it might be, and almost inflates them where they think the fighting is the lesser important thing as well. And I think that can be negative too. Like they're almost lifted up so high on these other things that like, oh, well, like everyone tells me I'm so great, I must be so great. And sometimes that attitude can also, like, the really good inflation can also have a negative impact then too, where you're just like, wait, no, that's most important. Like everything else can go on the back burner. Like until then, I mean, the winning is unfortunately what is key.
This is the sport that will humble you. You know what I mean? Like you get humbled in other sports, but you physically get humbled in this sport. Yeah. So it's like, you got to keep the main thing.
Yeah, you do. And that's why it's like, I always say too, when it's like, someone's like, oh, what do you feel about this guy?
Yeah.
He's getting built up. Or, oh, do you think he's that good? I was like, the good thing about MMA is like out. You have to win fights. Like eventually, is he going to keep winning or is he not? Or is she, you know what I mean? Or are they just getting this? I was like, she still has to fight. You know, and like, yes, there's favorable matchups, leading up to it, but it's like eventually, like you're going to have to prove you can actually do the thing that you're doing. You know what I mean? So that's what's great about it, is, the ultimate proving ground.
We had Max Crosby on a couple months back, and one of the things I love so much about you is how vocal you are about your sobriety. And I think that Max brought that up and how it changed his life, changed his career for the better. And something that I love so much about you is the fact that, like, you speak about that and the changes that it made for you in your life and a positive effect. How important was that during a time in your life, and what did it do for you, and how did it change you?
Dude, I mean, it's such a crazy thing to think about, because like to even call it a change, because it's like I wouldn't have a life. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't have a life, I think, to change if I didn't get sober when I was 20 years old. Like, what the hell? I wouldn't know you guys. I wouldn't be on this podcast. I wouldn't know my wife. I wouldn't be having this baby. And it's just crazy to think about. So that's what's crazy, is like, even when I'm coming up, when I was fighting like for my first title or whatever, it's like, this is a culmination of 10 years of hard work, training, and moving to here. I was like, actually, it's a culmination of, like, it all started when I became sober. Because if I wasn't, I would have never moved here, had the discipline, had the mind. I might not be alive. You know what I mean?
Is that almost like when life began?
That's when life began. Exactly. That's like how I mean. It's like, it's crazy because, like, to say it changed my life, but it's like, dude, I wasn't living a life, and I wouldn't have a life if I kept doing that.
It killed a life.
Bred
a new life.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like, I was like, it's just, and it's crazy to think, like, dude, I wouldn't know all these people. I wouldn't have this life. I wouldn't have gone here, gone there, fought in Australia, Brazil, or whatever, it may be. And it's just crazy little things. I wouldn't have a dog that has an Instagram account. You know what I mean? Like, that's weird.
And were you still performing at a high level when you were not sober? Like when you were high and stuff?
That's the thing, is he wasn't fighting.
I didn't.
Oh, you never fought?
I never fought, no.
Because I remember Max was like, I was, drunk all the time and smoking and doing this and that, and I went out and had 10.5 sacks in a season. Crazy. Like being high.
Yeah, and you know what? That's crazy. Like that's crazy, because for him, like, being an athlete, athletics is his life, is like, you have to find a real reason to change. If it's not affecting your performance, which is the most important thing of your life, it's like,
it was a personality thing. He said, I didn't like who I was. And I think it's important to talk about these types of things, because there might be one person out there struggling with their sobriety, or wants to get over, and look, people can have a couple drinks and be fine.
Yeah.
But then there's people that should just not. They should never drink.
If there is, dude, I would tell them, like, don't drink next time you think you're going to, and, like, you won't regret it in the morning. And do that every time, because you're never going to regret, like, not drinking. You're never going to be like, dude, I should have got fucked up last night.
Right.
Yeah, I wish I felt like shit
But
today.
that's exactly what Matt said, remember? He said the exact
it's just
same
like,
thing.
bro, you just realize, like, and then it's like, what value? Anyway, I don't want to get on a preachy about it, because, like, I truly believe everyone's right, and, like, this was just the great path for me.
you,
and if anyone is struggling, like, that's a very simple thing, and, like, obviously it's brought me, like, tons of value. But, like, what was the question before? Oh, performing. So I would wrestle. Like, I was in high school wrestling, and, like,
was a state champion.
being like a state champion, and drinking and stuff. But no, it was all about, like, so I was never performing. Like, I didn't start MMA when I was sober. I got sober when I was 20 years old, and then that, once again, like you said, like, my life started. I was like, well, what am I really gonna do? Like, I'm printing T-shirts in Las Cruces, New Mexico. My friend's dad's shop, printing signs. I'm like, oh, I miss competing. I miss wrestling. I started working out again. Hadn't worked out. I went from, like, state champion in high school to, like, just, like, fat beer guy. But yeah, and then it's like MMA started to boom. I was like, oh, I'd be really good at this. There's fights going on. I'm like, wait, this Cholo is, like, fighting? Like,
Leonard Garcia.
Well, I was in New Mexico, so it was like Bone Crusher, like Bone Crusher 3, like it literally said, like, at the, and I was like, and it was like, dude, like, I was a state champion wrestler. I can just beat him these guys just with that. But also, I always liked competing. Like, dude, I was, like, bred for this. Like, I thought Van Damme was my uncle. That changed my whole, like, my sorry. My aunt told me Van Damme was my uncle when I was young. And then, like, from there,
I believed it.
Like, my martial arts was in my blood. Like,
even though it wouldn't have been a blood uncle anyway.
It wouldn't have been a blood uncle. It wouldn't have been any of that. But, like, I was just, like, after that, I could, like, it just made me do the splits, bro, at school, and tell everybody, like, dude, it was crazy.
Teacher walks in, you're spun across 2 desks.
Yeah.
Bro, Van Damme's his uncle, bro. Don't mess with him, bro. Van Damme's his uncle. Anyway, but, like, crazy shit. Like, I was always just bred for this. Like, dude, I would go to the Boys and Girls Club, and my older brother always made me beat up his friends. He'd always be like, bro, I guarantee my little brother could take you down. And, like, I would just get him. And I remember my older brother, my first manager, making me wrestle people in the sandbox at the Boys and Girls Club for quarters for the vending machine. He'd be like, take down my little brother in the sandbox. And, and he was collecting money. Yeah,
That's
like
hilarious.
shit like
That's awesome.
that, beating him up as friends. Just obviously, like, growing up with, cousins and brothers, and just roughhousing, always fighting on the trampolines. I was really good at this. So anyway, got sober. I was like, man, I miss competing. I was like, this is awesome. I always watched UFC since I was young. You know what's crazy? We were just talking the other day.
About Robbie.
Yeah, about Robbie. And I was like, you know what's crazy, bro? Like, talking about, like, life beginning is, like, we're talking about Robbie Lawler. Like, I used to watch this guy with on DVDs.
VHS.
I mean, like,
VHS
like
tapes,
VHS,
yeah.
Robbie Lawler, and be like, this is the scariest guy ever. Just has ruthless across his stomach. Like, what a freak. And it's like,
Doesn't talk.
fast forward 20 years, and, like, I'm hanging out with this guy. He's texting me. We're giving each other hugs, bro.
Yeah.
Like, embracing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's crazy.
Full
I'm like,
circle.
I just, like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, talking to this about a girl that works in the UFC, you know what I mean? So it's like all that, like how I wouldn't have never had that without sobriety. But it's also crazy. Shout out to Robbie, as, like, I watched that as a young kid, right? Started fighting, had a crazy good, like, long career. And dude still fought after me. You know what I mean? Like, and he was still fighting after I did that. Like, I watched him, kind of, like, figured it out. Oh, did it. And then he's still doing it.
Yeah.
Like, how?
Yeah.
I'm stuck in the middle. Like something. I'm like, dude, Robbie is a freak.
Longevity.
And
is
an
crazy.
example of a man who does everything right.
Yes.
Treats everybody right. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Very
exactly.
humble.
Yeah.
All right, Megan, this one's for you.
Yeah, the
Okay.
best.
You ready?
Sorry, I love.
You're fighting.
Oh God. With my mouth, probably. Yeah.
You're fighting. Arena, walkout song,
Oh. Get the
and you
walkout.
get 4 corners.
Okay, well, walkout song would definitely be it's Oh Yeah by Foxy Brown.
Oh, you guys gotta listen to this.
That's off the top. So you've done this
Yo.
before.
Oh yeah, no, that's my walkout
okay.
song.
Foxy
All right.
Brown was not on my fucking checklist when she was
Oh
singing.
yeah,
Is it on your
but
bingo
you gotta
card?
listen to this song.
I know the song.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's the
yeah,
greatest
but like,
walkout song ever.
yeah, like everyone listen to the song and see fucking Olivi. Like
Yeah.
it's fucking. When she told me this for walkout, I was like, I fucking love you. Yeah. So good.
Arena is a good question. So part of me wants to say Saitama Super Arena in Japan because it's just so legendary and the way the atmosphere is just really, really special. However, if I'm actually like considering what I would need, I need people to cheer. Like Saitama is quiet and they're very respectful.
MSG's
and-
gonna respect.
MSG.
yeah, so
Yeah.
MSG. Madison
gonna
Square
respect-
Garden,
they're
and
gonna
I
respect
grew up
Foxy Brown.
going there
Yeah.
as a kid.
That was my first thought.
100%.
That's the best.
Quarterman,
That's the
obviously,
best.
Joe. I'd probably need Eric because you're an excellent. You know how to read your athletes,
Yes.
and you would know what I need. Like I couldn't have anyone tell me what I did wrong. You could only tell me what I did right. And then I would need
Compliment sandwich.
Yeah, I would need like probably my best friend Lindsay to just like talk a bunch of shit about the other person.
Fuck this bitch.
Yeah, just like say everything we hate about her. And then I don't know, maybe my dad for the fourth.
There you
feel
go, I love
Nick,
that.
I don't
Nick could bring
know.
like some gangster mentality.
He might, but you
He also
get,
might faint. So
But you
I'm not
get
sure.
irritated, like super, like it was a fine line of like, oh, get my dad out of my corner, or like,
Yeah.
God, he's the greatest ever.
Yeah,
So, you know
no,
what I
it's
mean?
very true. It's very true. But yeah, but the arena and the song are easy to answer.
That's
I like the corner too. Like we do need Lindsay there to be there. Like,
dude, Foxy
we
Brown.
gotta hear
Oh,
these
yeah.
two talk
Yeah.
about Bravo and
That's
Housewives is the
incredible.
best.
All right, my favorite.
That's a hell of
your
a-
guys'
Yeah.
favorite vacation for you two. Because I mean, like, I get jealous when I get to watch you guys go on vacation.
Yeah,
like,
we're super lucky. Joe's the best trip planner of all time. I literally think it should be his career. He has the greatest memory. He can go to a place he's never been before and pick all of the best restaurants from 5-star to hole in the wall to the coffee shop. Joe can do, I mean, it's sometimes annoying, but I'm just like, because I'm like, I can't get the
he's
whole
a
list.
walking
Can I
Yelp
rest?
review. We know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's unbelievable at
It's
it.
research.
Best vacation, I did very much love Puglia in Italy. Just very special. I think every time we go to Rome, it's very special.
Turkey is really amazing because it's I feel it's an under visited,
Well,
part,
the
and it's
influencers
just-
are getting there.
Yeah, but and it's just
Yeah.
different, and it's just different. It's a whole different, it's farm to table because like it has to be type of place.
Yeah.
Like there's not a hotel. It's like an old farmhouse you have to stay in. They're gonna cook you breakfast in the morning. Place was awesome. I mean, we've done a lot of Italy, and it's like once we went to Italy the first time, we realized like, we can just do different places here because those are all different than another country. So we kept wanting to explore different regions.
Say
as
any of our
different-
Italian vacations
Yeah,
are my
so any
favorite.
of 'em,
Yeah,
you
we're
know,
very, very fortunate, very
very
blessed.
fortunate
But
to
when you
that.
fly as much as we do, you get those
Yep.
airline miles,
Yep.
and then you're
Yes.
like, I'm gonna utilize them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, dream
Yeah.
vacation that you haven't been on yet. Where would you want to go?
Ooh. So I love that.
I'm gonna say something that's boring, but Sicily. I am
Okay.
part Sicilian, and like we just went to Naples last summer, and that's where my grandmother's from. And
That's where my family's from.
yeah, and it feels like you actually like can really feel the connection, and like, oh wow, like my family is from here.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So I'd love to go to Sicily, but I think having a baby now, the dream vacation is just being able to bring the baby places that
So cool.
That yeah, and even like silly stuff like wherever we might have a fight or a football game. And I'm like, oh, well, like, we love New Orleans, and we stay at a sick hotel
so
in New Orleans
fun.
for the
Just
NFL.
take 'em in a nice hotel
yeah, and
and
so it's like, oh, he
Take them
could,
by the pool. We're
Yeah.
not pool people.
Yeah.
If there's a beach, but it's like that'd be so cool just to take your
yeah.
little baby.
So I think
like,
that also changes the perspective now too,
Yeah.
because a lot of times you feel like you have to travel for work,
Right.
But now it's like if we get to bring our child when the cities feel appropriate, or there's somebody who can come help, like that is
Yeah.
going to bring like a new dynamic where we get to do that.
I love that because like we went to a family friend's wedding in St. Thomas.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the first trip we ever brought McKenna. So it made that trip far more memorable, not only for ourselves, but even for the guests.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because everyone there was aunts and uncles and family and friends, and they all got to enjoy McKenna because that was the first time they got to meet her. She was 9 months old.
Right.
You know, so it brings like a whole new facet to the travel of life. You know what I mean? It's like, oh,
I can't wait to travel with the kid. And it's like...
We traveled early with him.
Yeah,
Really?
really?
How long did you start? When did you put him on the plane?
4 months, because at 3 months they get there, like, you know, because they're so susceptible.
Yeah, that's
in the
what,
beginning.
That's what I was telling
and a plane
him.
is like
Germ City.
Like, so
Yeah.
I think we waited like 3 or 4 months, like right after like the first round of like checkups and shots and whatever. Went to Maui.
Hell yeah!
So we did 6 hours.
Yeah.
He was awesome. Like he just ate on the way up and ate on the way down, and in between he slept the whole time. And then we brought him to California a couple times. One flying and one driving, and he's been great. But I feel like because he's 8 months old, I feel like at this next couple months stage is when they start getting a little difficult because they can walk and they're like, but like 0 to now, it's like they just sleep and eat.
It's so exciting.
And I felt like, especially it'll be football season before we know it. He'll be only a couple months old when football begins, and since that's every week, like I don't want to leave him every week.
Right. Yeah.
So if there's places or like hotels that because we stay at the same place every time where we feel like it's appropriate, I'm excited to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And like bring him his little headphones
Yeah,
for
I get so
pregame.
freaking giddy when I see Megan on for
wait.
NFL.
I know.
I do, bro.
I know.
You know, like, I see her every
Thank
weekend,
you.
but NFL is just like different
It
for
is.
me.
It's crazy
like-
the perception.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It is. It's crazy. Like, and I'll work. You know, I'm so blessed. I'm grateful. I have 2 incredible jobs. Like, not many people in sports media or media in general can say that. But like, I have 2 incredible jobs. But I could be doing a not highly regarded football game, and the amount of messages I get because it's still America's sport.
Oh,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, people are still so passionate about their teams. Shout out to the Yankees. Though, my sport. Yeah, but it's so different from what we do too. Like, it's so different. It's so fun. The athletes, you know, they'll come up to me and be like, "Wait, I just saw you last night." Like it's like Joe Mazzulla. I had the
My
Patriots
guy.
game after Noche, and he was like,
yeah.
"Wait." He's like, "Honey, we just saw it. What are you doing?" And he's like talking to his wife. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, I know. But it's fun because football players love fighters.
Yeah.
And they really like respect what they do. So it's very cool.
Yeah.
Or like if I see, you know, like Kyler Murray or Justin Jefferson at one of our fights,
LSU,
it's cool.
shout out.
Like exactly. I just saw Cooper DeJean was in Miami, and I worked his first start. And
nice.
then and Fabiano, our translator, is upset. He's the biggest
Eagles fan.
Eagles.
so
he's
crazy.
He's a football encyclopedia, college and pro, and he's
crazy.
from Brazil. I mean, it's bananas. But I introduced them, and it like felt really good because it was like my worlds melding too, and it was super cool. Yeah.
I love that.
Oh, she snuck through that, but like Noche. Remember we were talking about like the Saturday night we do the red eye. Like I was gonna say it then, but it's like that Noche week. Like we should have documented that. Like that was Noche week from Noche. Our travel just to get to New
bless
England, which is the opposite coast of America. Like just to get there and then be on the field at the 10 o'clock in the morning game. And then, I remember because somebody was like, "Wait, you were on Noche last night." And it's just to
I left Joe I had to leave him at Logan and sprint through the airport to get to a car because we missed our first flight because Noche went so late.
Yeah.
So thankfully we had a backup emergency, but that caused I got to Gillette Stadium. I got on the field at 12:07 and my first hit was 12:10.
Wow.
Shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
Insane.
That's a crazy
Yeah, and then I'm like,
turnaround.
like I left him my bag. I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
I just-
sorry.
I gotta go.
I felt so bad. I'm like, can you also figure out a different place to stay because you stay in, where the field is instead of like in Boston, but we were going somewhere else. I'm like, can you also figure out a hotel and then tell me where we're staying after the game? And like he handled it all. He had food waiting for me. Like a robe was out. It was glorious.
Awesome.
Yeah,
The best. I wanted to do a little King of the Hill edition with you two.
I like
both
this
of you
shit.
can.
This is fun.
Both of you can
I like
answer
answering
these.
crazy word
One's
shit.
music and one's film. Okay.
Okay, I'm
So-
not good at either of those, Joe. Go ahead.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. All right,
You
ready?
can get
So
both.
the King
King of the Hill is-
Kanye pre 2000 19.
Absolute terrible
2018.
anti-Semitism.
Nah, he was
But
fine
it's
up
the
until
albums.
Donda music-wise to me.
Yeah, Donda's whack. Anyway, okay.
I think there's underrated tracks on there.
We're gonna
Though.
do
I know. I feel
King
the
of
same
the
way,
Hill.
Randy. He always
Yeah.
does this about Donda.
There's
but go ahead.
underrated tracks, but it's not good as a whole. That's it.
Okay, fair. But we'll start
Okay.
with this.
So King of the Hill.
King
like
of the Hill
you
is,
asked
I'm going to
too.
give you 2 options. You pick the one, and then I'm going to go to the next one with that same option.
Okay.
So just
we
follow
give it
me
together?
here.
Okay.
So first one, College Dropout or The Life of Pablo?
Oh. God, that's hard.
I'm actually. This is a recent development for me, but I'm going College Dropout.
It's so hard. My first love is College Dropout,
Your
but
first
I
love.
love Life of Pablo.
Yeah.
It's weird.
College Dropout is
Oh,
incredible.
God. You just answer these. This is too hard for me.
I don't know.
I guess College Dropout was
But I
my...
think College Dropout because that was, I
Yeah.
think, a little more
yeah.
like influential.
But God,
in
I
my
love Life of Pablo. That's so hard.
That's
Those are the
so
two
hard.
best
Loves it.
ones.
College Dropout or Late Registration?
College Dropout.
Dropout, easy. Registration, I actually don't think is great.
Really?
Anyway.
I love
Agreed.
that. College Dropout or Graduation?
Dude.
College Dropout.
Dude. So, graduation, like, it's like damn near flawless. Like, I don't like maybe like the Drunken Hot Girl song.
Yeah.
But like, it's such a good song, such a good sound, such a like revolutionary sound, like influent, like. So I just think as a whole, like it's like an anthem album. It's amazing.
What's your pick?
Yeah.
Graduation.
Graduation?
Oh, God. I'm
You
so
in College Dropout?
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's just like a like
Go ahead, go on
perfect.
with
I think it's
Graduation,
like
'cause-
perfect to listen through all, but then you skip like drunk that one.
Graduation or Yeezus?
Yeezus, I'm the Yeezus guy.
He loves these. I bought him that for his birthday one year.
She
He's
did.
all pumped.
Yeezus or 808s?
Yeezus,
Yeezus or Ye?
Yeezus. Ye is way
Whack.
down.
Yeah. Yeezus or Jesus is King?
Oh, Yeezus.
Yeezus or My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy?
You
I would
answer
pick.
yours.
I would pick My Beautiful but Dark Twisted
I'm going
Fantasy.
Yeezus.
Wow.
I love Yeezus. Is my favorite, and like
You
It's
worked
not
out
even-
so much to that album
Uh-huh.
too.
It's not
that
even
was
like-
his.
yeah, I what
Fantasy
Yeah.
is like one of the is
the
like
best
a
album.
piece of art to me.
It is.
Yeah.
I fucking
We
love
have the
that
artwork
album.
in our house.
It's
Yeah.
so good.
It's amazing. I think Yeezus I just love because like I love like the concept of like where he was at after My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, Watch the Throne, like both like really
Watch the
good
Throne,
like
so-
grand.
That was the next. That's
yeah.
the last
Oh.
one.
Oh,
Yeah.
but we also got to
Fantasy
throw
or
Kids
Watch
See
the
Ghosts
Throne?
in there then because
Yeah.
if
Joe
you're doing
loves
because-
Kids See Ghosts.
I don't
But,
like
like-
Kids See Ghosts that much. You like
Oh,
it?
I
I like it a lot.
Yeah?
I like it a lot. But like those are two like these grandiose, like
Yeah.
perfect albums.
Yeah.
And it's like you could have just, you know, like wrote on that, made another like perfect album. Graduation, you know, great, you know, easy digestible production. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna screw everyone up with like the most like abrasive
rap album, yeah.
like
Yeah.
just most abrasive, like hard to listen to, kind of
Yeah.
like not even good or fun.
It's
and
aged
like
so
I
well,
love
That's
that.
Joe's favorite.
Yeah. but like with like the, you know, like with the minimal album cover, like I just love when people do stuff like that
Yeah.
they don't have to do, but like they do it. Like that's real artists is like evolving. Like
love
like
it.
Taylor Swift when she made Folklore, like you're a pop star. You made like a kind of like weird depressive like folk album that like isn't about it. Bruce Springsteen, Nebraska is another one that's actually Yeezus is influenced by. He's like, that's my Nebraska. He's like, you know, Nebraska is
Yeah,
by
yeah.
Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
He just made this like minimal. He's like, you know, Mr. Born in the USA, and then like makes
Eric's
a
favorite
song on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then makes like a whole album on like a cassette player with a guitar about a drifting serial killer.
Yeah.
And it's like that's cool. And I don't even
As
like
one
Bruce
does.
Springsteen.
Yeah.
But like I just like that. I just like when people do stuff
Same.
out of the box.
I don't.
Yeah, yeah. I
Stay in
like
your box.
Jesus, but Fantasy
kidding.
to me is his best album, and then College Dropout probably my second.
Okay, I love
That's
that.
fair.
love
The
College. 'Cause-
nostalgia.
Yeah, that was 04, 05.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
17
It's
at the
just
time.
Driving in my
Different.
Jetta to
Yeah,
Catholic
so-
school,
yeah.
just
Rock.
I mean, it
raging
was
to that
like
album.
just that album. Was
So it's crazy
great.
because I wasn't like Kanye guy back then, but now like so when you listen to it coming up, you're like, oh, it feels a little dated. But now like I started listening to it to the point of like when this came out, that must have just been
Bro, the sample
so different.
That's what I was just telling
He
him.
made
You must
beats
have-
with like the samples was like
And he had his jaw wired shut in the beginning.
And I'm just like,
yeah.
all that.
And
with the
now,
marketing.
what a
listening
sad
to,
waste
man.
of talent.
I know,
Yeah.
he fucking sucks now. But
Yeah.
okay, film edition.
Oh.
Okay,
Here we
and
go.
it's all gonna be mobster movies.
Oh
Yeah.
shit. Oh, well,
That's why.
specialty.
You're gonna be
Exactly.
great.
That's why I did 1 and 1
Yeah.
because I know. Okay, so first one, Goodfellas or Godfather?
Godfather.
Godfa-
But Goodfellas is an incredible movie.
Yeah.
I that's very hard pairing, so I do love Goodfellas
Yeah.
very much.
Godfather.
I love Ray Liotta.
I got a take on Goodfellas.
What is
But
it?
no, just kidding. No, I mean it's a true story, so it is like whatever.
I
but,
love
like,
Ray Liotta.
I think
Yeah.
the thing for me is like Ray Liotta is the lead man. He's cool. Ray Liotta is good, and Ray Liotta is Ray Liotta. But like, it's a legendary motive. Like, is Ray Liotta really like the
guy.
lead? Yeah, but it's
Okay.
also, but no, I'm not just saying. It's like at the end of the day, he's like the main. He's the protagonist guy.
Yeah.
But also, it's a true story, so that's just the way it is. But also, like, when you think about like the whole story, it's like about a rat.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like, all right, like, I like it is a full movie to watch.
Yeah.
But like, I watch movies a lot for like themes
I
and
love it.
relatability and
Yeah,
everything.
it's good.
And like, it's obviously perfect and like it's the best. I'm just saying, like, I watch feeling some like movies, listen to music, anything to like more like relate to this, that, and
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like, and it's like, but you're watching a true story unfold, so like it makes difference when it takes on a true story. Anyway,
Love
that's-
Goodfellas, but The Godfather.
But Godfather's
Yeah.
the best.
It's
Are
the
we
best,
talking
yeah.
one or two?
One so far.
Okay,
Okay.
one.
Godfather or The Departed?
Godfather.
Departed, good movie, but
Godfather or Godfather 2?
Godfather 1.
Godfather 1.
Yeah.
Although love 2.
Yeah.
Think the journey's gorge.
Can I since I'm always going off on this, can you tell me cuz I like why you like 1 better than 2?
I just think like the way we're introduced to the family is so beautiful.
Yeah.
I think like seeing Michael's progression is really important. What?
No, that's it.
Oh,
That's it.
and
You win.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I got scared. I was like, oh no. But yeah, and I think it's beautiful. Like the way it's shot is really beautiful. I think there's like so many good characteristics of bad people that you almost like forget that they're bad people because you're like, oh yeah, but they love their family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So no, I love 1 so much. And also nostalgia. Like in the Olivi household, The Godfather was on for every single holiday.
Yeah.
That's just what we watched. And even though like my family is all very hardworking Italians that would be mortified to be ever, piled in with mobsters or that type of lifestyle. I think the pride in being Italian is something that's like sewn throughout those films, and it's something that's like very much still a part of me and like, how I operate as a person.
Yeah.
So yeah, what?
I also think 2 is amazing the way they tell the story.
Yeah.
But like when you think of Godfather, like you think of Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
And you just see Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
Oh,
With
he
the
reads
jaw,
the
the
funny
chin
papers,
out,
you
yeah.
know? Like, I just think like
Don
that-
Corleone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just think of Don Corleone. And then like, honestly, then you get, the second Godfather, Michael, and you actually get to see him from, okay, that's my family, not me, to I'm gonna shoot the policeman in the head.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what I mean? Like to
They're
see
great,
that,
man.
to
They're
see
Also,
that
like
is,
such a young cutie in one. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Young cutie. I love
Yeah.
Sonny too.
He can get it.
Oh, Sonny was great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then with
Sonny's the best.
yeah.
But then I would say 2 has maybe one of the best acting sequences in the entirety of both films.
What is it?
Where Fredo,
Yes.
where Michael and Fredo, he's like,
Yeah.
I can handle things. I'm smart,
Yes.
not like everyone else. Like so good. John Cazale, amazing.
Yeah.
Dude did 5 movies, maybe 4. Don't quote me, but 4 or 5 movies with like 70 Oscar nominations throughout the thing. He only did classics: Godfather 1, 2, Dog Day Afternoon, The Conversation, and
Dated Meryl Streep.
Deer Hunter.
And Deer Hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like dude just did classics.
Yeah.
Fredo.
Watch The
Rest-
Godfather Epic though. If you like The Godfathers, watch The Godfather Epic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in sequence, and then it has like 30 deleted scenes. So there's
Yeah.
a lot more to begin. It's like 7 hours
Yeah,
long.
Godfather Epic
It's
is
worth
both combined. Yeah, it's like a weekend thing, like
Yeah.
a rainy
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
watch it's both of them chronological order. So it starts really at the beginning of 2 with young Vito,
Yeah.
right? And then it plays through in chronological order the whole thing with 30 added scenes.
Yeah.
It's fucking great.
It's great.
Anyway.
All right, Godfather. We did The Departed and 2. Okay, Godfather or Casino?
Godfather. I like Casino, but I like Goodfellas better than Casino.
Really?
I know.
Oh, that's
controversial. I know.
I love Casino.
I know. I like it
Love
too, but I
Casino.
like Goodfellas better.
The scene, another scene, the Joe Pesci I'll crack his fucking head open again. That doesn't get better than that. Doesn't get better than that. So I'm gonna give Casino over Goodfellas. But I also don't think Godfather is gonna go down. But let's keep going because I love this.
Okay, Godfather or Irishman?
Oh, Godfather.
Yeah, Godfather or Bronx Tale?
God, these are my two favorite movies.
I know, that's why I put it in there. I was like, I know she loves Bronx Tale.
Okay, so I'm probably gonna say Bronx Tale, even though I'm more nostalgic for The Godfather, but Bronx Tale
It's your favorite movie.
Yeah, it's my favorite movie, but I also like the music is unbelievable. The storytelling's really important. And I think that there's so many perspectives as an Italian American watching it.
So beautiful.
That's like important to see that. Yeah, I love a Bronx Tale.
And the stuff you were talking about in The Godfather, it was like, that can be like mobster, but shows showing like what not to do.
Yeah.
In a way, you know what I mean? Which I think is good, and it's more
Bronx
like,
Tale feels like you're there.
So
yeah,
Yes.
and like Joe's talking
can-
about scenes. The best scene maybe in a movie history, in my opinion, is when Sonny locks the door and says, "Now you can't leave," and it's just like that's right. And then the music that they play, and these old Italian men, because if you have grown up around those people, you can very much see how an old Italian man in a suit would beat the fuck out of a young biker. You know what I mean? So yeah,
I'm
That
still
was a
going.
dope scene.
Yeah.
I'm still going Godfather, and I thought you'd say Bronx Tale because Bronx Tale is literally like your favorite list.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things like Godfather can be the best movie, but like your favorite is
it's Bronx Tale. We just watched it the other day.
That was it. That's the end of the
Dude,
list.
excellent
Bronx Tale
questions.
wins.
Excellent questions.
Real quick, we had Dean Thomas on here.
Oh, yeah.
And we did this segment with him about like flaming hot takes. Like what's your, doesn't have to be controversial. He said Sopranos doesn't do it for him. He doesn't like the TV show. I almost threw my
we almost
laptop
threw him out.
across the fucking
Yeah, we almost kicked him out.
Like, it is the best TV show of all time. Please tell me you agree.
Yes. Also, in Sopranos, Tony went to Seton Hall real quick for like a semester. So even though in real life he went to Rutgers, which were rival schools, I was in college and we had HBO on our in-campus TV. So everybody watched The Sopranos on Sundays. And when he said that, you could hear the whole dorm room cheer.
That's hilarious.
And so that was epic. And then obviously with the finale, we were all watching it and we thought, for those of you who happen to live under a rock and didn't see it,
spoilers.
We
20
thought,
years old.
we freaked out because we thought something happened at my house.
Right, like the TV went out or something.
Oh, and I'm like, Dad! Well, like we're just yelling, and then and I think it's like a really cool mixture of life there. And like as somebody who went to school with lots of people from different backgrounds, I mean, that's a real family dynamic that you could see.
I fucking love Sopranos.
Yeah, and
It's
so
good.
and those are real people that you could interact with in the community, and I think the way it was presented was just absolutely brilliant, and just like made it cool to be Italian again, you know?
Yeah, so next time you see Dean, tell him he's wrong.
You want to throw your laptop again?
Oh, no, please
Oh,
don't.
God.
You want to throw your laptop
What are
again?
you going to say?
Very disappointing.
I never finished Sopranos.
He got like over it in season 5.
Because, get this. Imagine this.
Imagine not finishing it? I can't.
Yeah, no. Basically, not basically, this is what happened. We just started watching because I was like, I've never seen The Sopranos. I didn't grow up with HBO.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, Joe.
I didn't have HBO all cool. I didn't go to a place of higher education. Or, Joe. I got his college.
He also didn't have a computer until he was 23. If you want to like add to it, it's
cool.
fine.
Sorry, we weren't rich. No, just kidding. But so anyway, we never watched it. We started watching it. It's a lot. It's just a long, like it was 6 seasons, right?
Yeah.
So we got through 5 and I was like, okay, like I think when you're watching it every week and then a new season comes out, it's exciting. Yeah. A new season, exciting. Like I don't even catch up with these classic shows that are like, when I have to know, like, I'm going to watch 6 seasons of that, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, right? So we watched 5 of them and then I'm like, okay, like I think I just need a little break
You
before
already
like.
got through like all of it.
I know.
You
I
got
know, but I was like,
10
it just got kind of
season left.
Redundant.
Yes, dude. It got repetitive. I was just like, it's 5
crazy.
episodes of like similar stuff happening all the time.
And
It's
I
like
was
Sons
just like,
of
please.
Anarchy. I
Yeah,
saw
so I
one
was just
episode.
like,
I saw them all,
and
dude.
then 6 had like 30 episodes instead of 15. I was like, I need like a
Yeah,
break.
because it's 2 parts.
I just needed him to see the Christopher Tony car scene.
Oh,
And
God.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I cried.
I'll do it. You want to do
right.
6? I won't remember the rest of the 5 though.
That's all right.
Perfect.
So, but I'll do it.
That's such
I'll do
a
it.
great
I'm
show.
in.
All right, real quick. Let's
do more. Let's do everything.
That was the only 2 I
I'm
had.
just kidding. I don't care, dude. I'm just.
But quickly, because I know we got to get you guys out of here. Let's do the
I'll live here.
UFC 315. Bro, you can live here if you want. You can come guest host every week, bro.
Oh,
if you
really?
want.
I'd love to
100%.
Don't tell him that because he will.
Definitely. Let's switch it back to and end on the UFC card this weekend in Montreal. UFC 315, the MyBookie betting breakdown. Head to mybookie.ag for all your bets and for these odds listed below. So when we do the top 3 fights, we'll just kind of run through them. You know, obviously, I don't think you can make picks.
I'm not allowed to.
Yeah, so you don't have to.
But I
Nobody
can have an
has to.
opinion,
But
maybe.
you can have an opinion. We'll start with the featured non-title fight, which is Jose Aldo and Aiemann Zahabi. Aldo is a minus 230 favorite at mybookie.ag, and Zahabi coming back at plus 175, call it. So, Eric, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on that matchup?
Just same with you. I hate when they're putting legends
Why the
in there.
fuck are they doing this to my boy Jose, bro?
Yeah.
Like, the dude came back for another run after being in the Hall of Fame. And here you get Mario Batista, Chris fucking this guy, and now this guy.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. Let's
Chris
give him
Kringle.
some. Yeah, Chris
Kringle.
Yeah.
Like what?
You got Saint Nick, Chris Kringle, and
Yeah.
I hate this shit, bro.
Yeah.
It's not like the Bobby Green roofie fight where you're
No,
like making
yeah,
him a
exactly.
sacrificial lamb, but
Yeah.
like, why are you giving Aldo like?
I
And
think
no
because you're in
offense to
Montreal, I think you got,
Aldo's a
Aiemann-
favorite
Aiemann-
there?
Yeah,
Aldo's
Aldo's
minus 230.
is
Yeah,
the
he's a big
favorite.
favorite.
But you know, young, talented kid in Aiemann Zahabi lives in Montreal. The Zahabi name. I think you give this guy a spot on this card. To be honest with you, I don't think it's like that big of a mismatch. To be honest, I really don't. I mean, obviously the odds makers think Aldo wins this fight. And I lean that way.
But you think it's a closer fight than?
I do.
Yeah.
I think it's a closer fight than that is.
What about you, Joe?
I'm taking Aldo as well. Also, you got to think like sometimes the hometown. Well, I love Aldo,
Yeah.
so I'm just
we
gonna
love him.
make
favorite fight
this
of all
work for Aldo, right? And I really truly believe he's gonna win because he's just. You know, it's so hard for me to like look at like legends like that or guys that get at the top and think like they're not gonna win. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, it's Jose Aldo. He's a fucking superhero to me. You know what I mean?
100%.
So it's just like, of course he's gonna win. He's Jose Aldo. But I do think he's gonna win, and it's like he has all the stuff there, but like we don't know. Like he's pretty young too, so like that's a lot of pressure in Montreal, and like he's supposed to be the next guy at this show. He has all his family bother him. He's supposed to be this, that on the main card. Aldo's been there. You know what I mean? And I
That's
think
a great
he still has the
point,
talent.
man.
to
That
do
like
you know what I mean?
hometown sometimes
It's real.
turns into more of a fucking problem. You know, can I get 15 tickets, dude? You really
I
don't
get
get
15
two.
tickets.
And people get so stressed out. Like,
And he's gonna feel the
most
pressure.
people don't know how to act
Yeah.
around fighters.
I always think of Gustafsson and Rumble. You know, like he had to
Sweden.
carry that whole
Yeah.
like card on his shoulders, and Rumble just goes, "Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
check this out."
Yeah.
He's gonna feel the pressure, I
Yeah.
think, too, of fighting a legend in his hometown in that arena.
Yeah.
And you know, Aldo's gonna win, make a title run.
Yeah, I think so too. What are your thoughts? Just opinion on how the matchup goes.
Well, this is unpopular, but I do feel like if you retire, I'd like to see you stay retired.
I'm with you on that though.
I think
But I will see
think
Jose
most
Aldo
people
fight.
are.
I'll watch Jose Aldo fight until
Of
he's
course.
85 years
Yeah,
old.
yeah, but
I
like,
love him. One of my
sure.
favorite MMA memories
Yeah.
includes Jose Aldo. We were in Rio. He took us around these crazy fights at the Bope Barracks, which is their special forces.
Yeah.
It was insane. And Aldo took care of us the whole night. It was the best. I love him. I also flew Air Aldo for the McGregor Aldo World Tour,
Yeah.
and so I just adore him. But I just feel like if that was in your heart, then
Yeah.
sometimes it's easier to stay that way. But he's doing well, so who am I to say that?
Right.
So
but you can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
I also would like to
Yeah,
see
not
maybe
in this
Aldo
sport.
fight in, like, he's fought
Not
in
in
Salt Lake
this
City and Montreal now. I'd like him to maybe see him fight in like a Florida
Yeah.
or somewhere if he's gonna go internationally outside of out of Brazil, because the fan base I think is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Than, you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
What are we doing? Like Aldo in Montreal. And
Are you
Salt Lake
going,
City.
Megan?
No, I'm not allowed to fly in my third
Okay.
trimester.
Okay.
So my last trip was Miami.
Copy.
Yeah.
Are you working though up until?
Yeah. So
what's
I'll be
your last
working.
show?
TBD.
Okay.
Because I could have a baby international fight week, but I
Yeah.
also might not. So I am cleared to work until he's born.
Yeah.
And I plan on doing that unless I'm like physically incapable, but it's tricky. But I am working like the Vegas Apex shows. I still host the show UFC Connected, so I'm still very much working. Joe's trying to now make pecs catch on instead of Apex.
The pecs.
The pecs, bro.
Yeah.
All right, co-main event: Valentina Shevchenko, Manon Fiorot. Am I saying it right? Fiorot.
Manon Fiorot.
Manon Fiorot.
Why am I acting like I don't know how to say it?
Yeah, well, I looked at you because you.
She has.
Fiorot. Manon
Fiorot.
Fiorot. No,
Manon.
why am I? No, I thought I knew how to say it. I was just correcting you this morning.
Yeah, you were.
Manon Fiorot.
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 No.
She has a whistle at the end.
Yeah.
Manon Fior. It's Fior.
Fior.
Yeah, Manon
Okay,
Fior.
T is
There we
silent.
go.
All
Sorry.
right. The T in the second O.
I got really confused.
Valentina plus 110.
Give me that.
Manon Fiorot minus 140. Manon the favorite.
Is Manon's a favorite?
Yeah.
They're in French Canada, and she is from France.
Yes.
Give me Valentina anytime she's a dog. You're going to take her a dog money, bro. Like,
Yeah.
yes. I think she's better all around. I think, Valentina's wrestling is severely underrated, but we saw that in the Grasso fight.
Yeah, the trilogy.
And I think she leans on that. But now I'm almost positive it's two southpaws. I'm excited to see that style matchup.
Yeah.
Southpaw versus southpaw.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I think a lot of
Ooh.
Valentina's tricks out of the
I like
striking was because she was a southpaw. So this will be an interesting
Yes.
matchup, southpaw versus southpaw.
It is going to be very interesting because when you're southpaw, like you make a living off of the angles you fight against right-handed people about the opposite stance. Like I'm the southpaw, they can't deal with me because they're right-handed and they're not seeing it. When you see another southpaw, it's just as weird as that, orthodox person, fighting a southpaw. You're like, what the hell? Like I'm used to this angle. So actually, that's crazy. I would love that you brought that up because southpaw is a different thing. If I saw southpaw, I'd always just switch to southpaw too because I'm just like, they're not gonna see this. They know what to do from southpaw.
Has Valentina fought? Was Alexa southpaw?
She's ortho.
She is ortho. So has Valentina fought any southpaws that you could think of?
Not
And
off
vice
the top
versa?
of my head, but it's an
Dang.
interesting thing that Joe brings up because anytime that we do fight southpaws, I always try to tell our guys to match the stance just for that reason, and then we will flow from southpaw over to orthodox to create chaos.
Yes.
So it's coming from a different angle, and they're like, "Oh shit!" So the time they're processing a new stance, then we'll move over into that orthodox stance, but start it from southpaw.
Yeah.
Dude. Yes. I was gonna say, like, dude, we got some masterful things from there. I think we did some stuff. Like,
did
it's
good
amazing.
there.
It's
It was
amazing.
amazing.
So yeah. Oh, like Valentina's an underdog.
Yeah.
Valentina.
Take that
For
all
sure.
day.
I'm gonna take Valentina.
Yeah.
Again, like you just see her and she's just like, dude, she's the best. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did she do to make me think she's gonna lose a fight? Nothing. She's the champion.
I would say I'd like to see more activity in some of the women's weight classes, particularly with like those who hold the belt or those who are vying to become the number one challenger. I think having more consistency in how often we see either the champs or the top contenders fight in those women's division will serve both the athletes and the weight classes as a whole really
Couldn't
well.
agree more.
Yeah.
How great is it though that Amanda's coming back?
So
I know, but I'm still
Just
like
to your point though, of like you're
yeah,
retired
I mean,
or
listen, I
retired.
love the Kayla Harrison
backstory.
should that happen, and I do think that Amanda has always been a person who's not fully retired anyway.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I adore her. Yeah, I think it's just really hard to close that door sometimes,
Sure. Yeah.
and so keeping it open maybe is great for the career part, but is it great for the after career part? I don't really know, but I'm really excited for the Newark card for the Kayla and Juliana fight, and I think that there's so much storyline built into whoever faces Amanda. And Amanda, I mean, she's the women's combat sports goat.
Goat.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah.
100%.
Yeah, that Kayla Juliana fight's interesting. Like,
Yeah.
everything says Kayla should win that fight, but Juliana's a dog, bro.
She is a dog, dude.
She'll take an ass whooping
She
to
will.
give a
And
couple.
she has such an interesting style and
Yeah.
approach to fighting that I think
Yeah.
oftentimes people are expecting such a different type of opponent, or they've
Yeah.
fought different types of opponents their whole lives, that they're like, well, this bitch is just mad.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes, like, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Valentina.
I've never seen anything like that time when Juliana got it, man. I was just like, what is happening?
And then Mike
This is
Kiesen
happening.
just jumps the
Yeah.
Godzilla. I love Mike.
I don't know what it is
Nuts.
about her, but I think she's like the hottest thing ever because she just seems like she's fucking crazy.
Oh, she's awesome.
I was like, oh my god, dude! Like, I want her to like stab me. Like, she's so hot,
She's
she might
also
steal my
so
kidney.
nice. Like, it's crazy. Her and Amanda and Kayla, they're so scary in the octagon.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like the kindest,
Yeah.
most loving mothers and souls.
Oh,
and
for
like,
sure.
they're always like, "Are you okay?" Like, worried about like talking about
stop
athletes.
on
Yeah,
her
I
nuts
love
though.
it.
Yeah, you know, exactly. Like, those guys kind of hot.
Yeah, that's so funny because she's like nuts, and she'll take
I
one
love
to
it.
give. She'll take 5 to give one. You know.
Eric's trying to get his nuts stomped on.
Yeah, dude, please steal my wallet while you're at it.
But yeah, Manon but Manon fought Rose, and Rose switches, right? So so Manon
yeah.
has kind of seen, I guess, a little bit of
Yeah, but I
Southpaw,
don't think the wrestling. I mean, Rose can wrestle.
but not like, and she's smaller too. So yeah.
She's a kickboxer.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of pedigree and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting fight. But yeah, Valentina at plus money seems like you gotta take that.
It's wild.
And then yeah, main event, our boy Belal, we've had him on the show, so he's our boy. Minus 255 going against Jack Della Maddalena. JDM plus 195. Ian Gary, the backup, I guess it was announced, right? That he'll
Yep.
be the backup for this fight should
That is
anything
correct.
happen. Hopefully not. But yeah, thoughts on Belal and JDM? I think we talked about this briefly a couple episodes ago.
The blueprint is the Basil Hafez fight. You know, that's the blueprint. Put him on his back, take him down. Gilbert did the same thing, but I think what Gilbert might have done wrong is played a little bit too much jiu-jitsu, a little bit too scrambly, rather than hunker down and stay in your positionals. I think, you know, I talked to Belal, I'm not giving away his game plan, but I think he's saw the kind of the blueprint and what he's able to do. And make those types of adjustments, but I think that you're going to see a lot of wrestling out of Belal this fight, and I think, you know, why flip a coin against a guy who his best path to victory is his boxing? So why even give him the opportunity to box?
Because Belal has that Canelo boxing, bro.
Come on,
Yeah.
Belal.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
But I think I go with Belal on this one, and the gap in skill set. I think the gap there is the offensive wrestling by Belal. Lean on the cardio. It might not be the most entertaining fight in the world, but when you're a champion, your role is to continue to get your pay-per-view points,
Yep.
is make much money as you
Yeah,
can.
because let's not forget that people used to talk shit on GSP and say like his fight's boring. He jabbed Josh Koscheck to death in a fight,
Yep.
and that was beyond impressive. I mean, and yet people had found something to complain about, but now he's revered, you know, rightfully so,
They
as one of
always
the
will,
best
right?
ever.
Yeah.
So it's one of those
They
things where it's
always
like
will find something.
you can't please everybody, but at the end of the day, the goal is to get your hand raised. You have to do that in whatever fashion makes the most sense.
And
Couldn't
build
agree
that
more.
legacy
Yeah.
and
You know,
defend the
Israel
title.
versus Yoel Romero, but it's like you have to formulate a game plan to allow your athlete to win the fight.
Yeah.
So yes, they might not be the most exciting, and that's not our job as a coaching staff or fighters to please the fans. Our job is to win, and it might not be appealing to the fans in that moment, but we want to make the most money that we can in that time.
Yeah.
Keep the belt, keep the pay-per-view.
Take the least amount of damage as well.
100%.
It's the name of the game. I
Yeah.
hate when you can tell athletes let Twitter get to their head because you'll see them just completely go away from their game plan. Like, you're a wrestler, take him down. Like, just take him down. It's so easy. I feel like we talked about this a little bit. I feel like Alex Pereira, his opponents had that mentality of like, they know the path to victory, but for some reason they got to like try to stand up and like strike with this guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, this is the wrong game plan, Sean.
Sean.
And it's like, you know what I mean? Just like, so anyway, but go ahead. Belal and JDM, what do you think?
So first thing, let's go back in the podcast where you asked me who I really like watching fight. Not necessarily from a shifting, but even though they both, I actually do it. Actually, both of these guys are on my list. I love watching them both. I love Belal because he just fights perfect and technical MMA fight. And you know what I mean? And like, that's what I love about it. That's why I love GSP is like, that's a mixed martial artist. Like, Belal goes in and he like fights the game plan to a T, executes to a T, you know what I mean? Like, has a plan, and then just like, he fights like nothing fancy. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to do what he has to do, get in the guy's face, yes, box him, be able to take him down when he wants. And I just love, like, he fights like a mixed martial artist. I'm boxing, now I can take you down. And I'm going to do that because I'm better than you there. That being said, I love watching Jack too because I fucking love body shots.
Yeah.
You guys used to call me like Joseph the Body Benavidez.
Yeah.
Didn't you guys all say that about me?
Yeah, of course.
Definitely your nickname.
Well, we have the Joe B combo where we hit the body, kick the head, GCM Formiga.
But yeah, I love the body. Love the body. So love when guys go into the body. He switches a little. He's so exciting. Proved a lot grappling wise in the Gilbert fight. And I just love watching him. So yes, that, like, I love both of those guys as like guys I like to watch. So to see him fight, something interesting in the fight, you know, not necessarily swaying my opinion that Belal is probably going to win because he has an advantage of being able to take the guy down once they're boxing. But like when Belal fought Leon, right, he closed the distance so quick on a kickboxer. And you could tell, like, you know, Leon was stuffed up. Like, he needs to be at kickboxing distance, which we already talked about. It's like, it's boxing, it's kickboxing, it's MMA, right? So, like, he went in and he closed the distance on a kickboxer. Like, no, like, Leon couldn't get his kicks off right here. He couldn't get comfortable because Belal's in his face, which made all the takedowns easier, the boxing easier. JDM is going to, I don't know how Belal's going to fight him, but it's like, if we're looking at like, oh, he's just going to pressure him, then take him down. But JDM's really good at a boxing range.
Yeah.
He's at that one-step distance. Like, where Leon's on his back foot, you know, JDM's ripping, he's slipping, he's ripping, you know, he's moving. So I think that's going to be interesting because when you talk about, like, Belal's boxing has been so impressive and the pressure he puts on with his boxing. But when you're in that distance, you're in JDM's world 100%. Also.
That's a great point with the body shots too, because when you start aiming for the body shots, you're also looking to negate the level change. You're also looking to zap the energy systems out of the cardio of a guy. So the body shot, and they also serve as underhooks. You know, so the body work's a great point, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, it's gonna come down largely to, I think, how he deals with that pressure at the boxing range or how Belal does it, and then the takedown defense. I mean, I still think Belal's going to get it done because he's going to be very capable to box him, I think, too, right? And he can kick, so maybe Belal keeps it at a longer distance because Belal's maybe a better kicker, right? So I do think Belal's capable of stand-up, like, and trading with him there and having a very, very good fight, like if he didn't take him down. But the fact he can take him down, will go for a takedown, and most likely get a few when he wants. I think you have to look at him, you know what I mean? Like, I always look at people and it's like, not that JDM is lacking in anything, but it's like, whenever someone has, like I think you just said it, and it's easy picking, but it's like, when someone actually has another, like, clear advantage somewhere, they're probably, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to make it just, like, being at such a deficit in one place. Not that he's at a deficit, but you know what I mean? Like, you're going to get exposed one day. So it's just like, if it's a close fight, Belal can take him down, basically, is how I'm looking at my
The entries are interesting though. Like, he doesn't have to worry about the entry with Leon as much as he will with someone like Jack who can box. What do you think, Megan? Just you know, for the fight itself.
Well, I think it's obviously really important to 170 because there's a lot of moving parts right now, and
such a good weight class right now.
Yeah, it's so good, and I hate the way that oftentimes we write Belal off, or the fan base writes him off, or you know, some of these contenders that are up and coming. I think it's really important that we, like, understand how impressive and challenging it is to be as dominant and as perfect in fights as we've seen from Belal and other athletes like him. I do think that they're, you know, with Ian going, that's interesting now. He's a loud person. You know, he's got a lot of opinions. He uses media really well. And so I think it's quite important to the weight class, aside from the belt being on the line, but also I think it's important for those who love the sport to really, like, see Jack is stepping in. Remember, he wasn't originally supposed to be the opponent. He's had plenty of time, though. And, you know, obviously Sean Brady then got that Leon fight, and it turned out great for Sean. But I just think it's, you know, that's something that I really struggle with, is, like, how oftentimes we see our athletes treated. And so I hope that whatever this fight looks like, it can be something that garners the respect that it deserves, no matter what it looks like.
Yeah, that's a good point. Especially Belal, man. He gets so much shit.
I know.
We talked about that.
So good, world champion.
But he's also
nice
what
guy.
I love
nicest.
He's hilarious.
Dude,
he snaps back and plays
Dude's
back
funny,
so
man.
well. But man, such a great guy, great fighter.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't
might
get
not
it
be
at
knocking
all.
people out like Pereira, but he's a great fighter. He does everything right. So,
but our sport isn't that. Our sport
Right.
is mixed martial arts.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
so
exactly. Him and Brady, when they rematch, that'll be the fight.
Yeah,
because
it'll be a
that
great
fight's
fight.
going to be awesome.
Sure.
Brady's so good.
Oh, he's
so
great.
good.
Another
And he's
really
only- you know,
good
he's-
dude.
Yeah, great guy too. All right, I think that's about it. We've kept y'all long enough.
No,
I feel
you're
bad.
perfect.
That was amazing.
Joe will
Yeah.
stay all day. Are you kidding
By the
me?
way, bro,
I
you
told
should
you guys.
absolutely do broadcast. Just the way you were transitioning from Eric to Megan to you, back to you, whatever, and then breaking down the fights. I could listen to you talk all day, and you don't have to be a fan. You just obviously know the
He's
sport.
so smart.
Yeah.
He has
You know the
so much
sport.
knowledge about the sport, and
Yeah.
he.
Even talking about the distance.
Thank
thing,
you for saying that.
Him shooting on Leon's different than him shooting on Jack. You could 100% do broadcast.
He's such
bro.
a huge resource for all of us.
Yeah.
He came in a couple months ago and did just basically a southpaw seminar for our DevGru guys on a Monday morning, and everyone walked away from there just going, holy shit.
Yeah.
I wish Joe was in here more often.
Yeah.
I miss him in the locker room.
Yeah.
I miss him all the time, but the
In the
locker
showers, you
in
mean?
the showers.
Hey-o.
I miss the locker room. I miss him and Ryder.
Yeah.
Dude.
Can I just say this is the most annoying thing about Joe is he's so good at so many freaking things, and he is so smart and so talented in so many aspects of life. But he just is
what?
I don't like it. Nah, I don't want to. And it's oh my God, I wish I could do that one thing out of
Yeah.
the 50 you can do. I would make my whole life off of it. And he's just yeah, it's
Yeah.
fine. I'm good at it, but I don't have to. I'm just okay, it must be nice.
Yeah.
So it's unbelievable. He's very, very talented. And,
If
yeah.
you ever
I
wanted
love
to
you
do,
guys.
if you ever wanted to do broadcast, you can. Obviously, coaching, I think you'd be incredible. I don't know if you want to do that or not.
I don't know. It's very time consuming. I don't know if I'd love it.
Yeah, but man, hope
God
to see you
bless
on the
you.
broadcast booth soon.
Yeah,
Definitely, we'll see
something-
you on the
something cool.
broadcast
Yeah.
booth soon and on the sidelines.
Yes.
But honestly, can't thank y'all enough. This is my
Thank
favorite
you.
episode
Yeah,
we've
thank
done.
you
I can't believe we also got a gift
Yeah,
out of
of
it. The
course.
gift is
Yeah.
being with you guys.
Of
But thank
course.
you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Camille.
Yeah, Camille. Thank you, Camille.
Randy.
Anything else?
Nah, man, I'm so stoked you guys were able to come in.
I love
Obviously,
it.
we had you guys on the list on. I was like, but we can get both at the same time.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
I love
Yeah.
this.
I know,
This
so-
is
Twofer.
fun.
Yeah.
Two
Well,
for-
two and a
Twofer.
half.
2.5.
Yeah, exactly.
2.5. Again, thank y'all so much. Looking forward to seeing you guys on screen, seeing the baby, meeting
Yes.
him. He's got
Yes.
friends, obviously.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Uncles.
when he's born.
Yeah.
Uncles. Yeah.
Babysitters.
Oh yeah. McKenna and Avery.
Yeah,
You
they're
got it.
ready.
But again, thank y'all so much.
Yeah, I love you
And,
guys.
This is the
appreciate
best.
y'all. Appreciate it. Well, that does it for
you
another
guys.
episode of Verse Us with Eric Nixick. Please make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. Leave a comment below. Let us know, what guests you want to see on the show, any questions you have for the show. Also, make sure you download the audio version of the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, etc. And also, please follow the show on social media at VSUS Pod across all platforms. For Eric and Joe and Megan, I'm Randy. We'll see you guys next time.